World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's just so dangerous. You're risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
They say that this place is magical. It's legendary. There's a certain element around this place which gives you all sorts of feel and understanding about what motorsport should be, can be, and most crucially of all, will become. This is a track which, for many intents and purposes, has been at many points throughout racing a forerunner, a motive for change, and so much more in between. Today, we showcase what that future is like here at World Pro Racing. We go sim racing here. This is where sim racing becomes real, and we're going to prove it over 226 kilometers worth of action here today. Welcome to the party. Welcome to the conversation. My name's Shakespeare, joined alongside, of course, by Mr. Kieran McGinley here, bringing in all of the action for you here today. And Kieran, what's going to be crucial is that this is going to be roughly there or thereabouts an hour and a half, an hour, 25 minutes. This is going to be one of those races where you probably look at this on paper and go, yeah, 226 Ks to the Nurburgring. Always going to be difficult, but at exactly the same time, there are a whole heap of nuances which are going to bring things either to, from, or in between.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome along to World Pro Racing for, as you say, 226 kilometres of the Nurburgring. Yes, with a mandatory stop thrown into the mix as well. Tyre change is mandatory at around a halfway stage of this race. We've got that 10-minute pit window, which will open around 47 and a half minutes to go in this race, or roughly thereabouts. So, trying to get that tyre change absolutely right. When do you change the tyres within that pit window? Do you leave it late and take a benefit of fresher tyres at the end, or do you pit earlier in that window and try and get that lap or two advantage on fresher tyres to get the track position? If you're watching Germanfest last night here on World Pro Racing, you'll see that overtaking here at the Nürburgring is tricky, not impossible, mind, as long as you have an aggressive mindset. That we saw some moves happen last night. But yes, absolutely looking forward to this one. Who will make it out on top here of the Nürburgring?
That will be the question that will be answered over the course of the next hour and a half to 2 hours here with our coverage, not just here on YouTube, on Facebook Live and on Twitch as well with World Pro Racing, but also with Motorsport.tv, with TVM Sport and with ESTV, the esports television network. Now, you've got so much more that comes into all of these battles, of course, and it's going to be about 90 minutes, we've said, so a long time for a lot of these drivers to try and get themselves settled into a rhythm, get themselves understanding what they need to do over the course of the racing. But Kieran, at exactly the same time, 90 minutes of any stint solo often is fraught with a couple of mistakes here and there. It's all about the driver who can remain the most consistent, who will profiteer the most.
Yeah, and that's always a case with endurance racing. It's about keeping your mistakes to a minimum. Failing that, keep them as low as possible, or as keep them as minor as you possibly can. Maybe a missed apex, a locked brake here or there. It's going to happen. You might as well embrace it, but just try and keep that down to a minimum. And when it comes to having a race this long, there's going to be back markers. There's going to be traffic out there. That's something you're going to have to deal with. Yes, you can have all the blue flags in the world, but at some points here at the Nurburgring, the track does get very narrow. So it's important for the drivers to realise, have that sense around them about when to make an overtake, and more importantly, when it comes to those back markers, when's the best place to actually get past and get past safely.
And we'll see how those drivers look to try and get their way through on everyone safely. If you are brand new to us here with World Pro Racing, watching us for the very first time, you can head over to worldproracing.com/events. If you want to get yourself into some of these wonderful races, if you are brand new to the sim racing sphere, or you are a veteran for a long time and have been looking to try and get into some more action, there is something on practically almost every platform out there for you. worldproracing.com/events. That is the place to go to. Today, Santa Cosa Competizione is the name of the game at this moment in time, as we focus on the Jensen Team Rocket RJN machine of Luke Whitehead here, making great strides in the McLaren, jumping up through in towards this very, very difficult Vidal chicane, running the endurance chicane through this section. You'll notice as well, which is very crucial to today's racing, only the Grand Prix layout that we are running for this endurance event, which means that in terms of trying to find opportunities, you know, you're not going to get 3 kilometer Dottinger Herd straights. You're going to get yourself maybe one attack into turn number 1, and then you're going to have to be harassing the back to try and get through. Nice mixture as well in terms of the top of the standings at the moment of manufacturer, which I find really, really interesting.
Yeah, and of course, it's some showing here to have a car that's not German having the top of the leaderboard. If you like, this is where the heart of motorsport here in Germany really comes home to. And to see a McLaren at the top of the standings is not what the home crowd would have wanted to see. But we know how quick Luke Whitehead is. We know we've seen it over the past few weeks and past few months here at World Pro Racing. So we know what he's capable of. And if he's chosen the McLaren here, I mean, having a look at the rest of the field, you've got Boydchov there, 12th fastest in this practice session. Tom McEwing down in 17th place. That's either a very fast Luke Whitehead out there, or this McLaren is going to be pretty good in the race.
Well, we will definitely see. We know Luke Whitehead's incredibly quick there, as Muller moves up then into second position overall in the 143. Audi then on the timing stands, just half a tenth of a second behind. So this is where we're going to be starting to see here in this free practice. Drivers just trying to find maybe a little bit of something here and there, and it's very interesting to see who is where at the moment in terms of their times around here. The top 7 currently within 1 second at the front of this field, and everyone else in and around and all about are going to be searching for those times to push themselves up forward and maybe just showcase a little bit of the hand that they've got. You've also got Mitchell there in 3rd position right now, currently piloting the number 78 Lamborghini. So that Lamborghini might try and find a little bit of good work as Whitehead takes himself through that Hyundai N-curve, making his way through the end of the lap and attacking to that start-finish line once again as he tries to go through. Coleman Corkery there in the number 9, in 16th place, looking to try and pilot that Aston Martin forward. Doing very well actually on that lap, moving up to 9th place.
Yeah, and he does like that Aston Martin for sure. I mean, he was at the round at Bathurst a couple of weeks ago, and he put in a good showing, although towards the end of the race it was very clear that he decided to try and leave his mandatory pit stop, his last mandatory pit stop I should say, right to the final lap of the race, which came back to bite him in the end because it cost him a really good position. Had he pitted earlier on in the race, he might have had a better chance and maybe more time to get back the time that he had lost. Here tonight we've got a mandatory pit stop which is in the middle 10 minutes of this race, so pitting late on won't be a problem here for Corkery. So let's see what he's like there out on pace. Currently top 10 within this practice session right now. There's Mike Herkart, who's making his way now in the Delm Racing Audi, making his way now all the way through Advan Arch, all the way now up towards the Vidal chicane. And this is a very, very bumpy chicane on entry. Look at this suspension working hard on entry in towards the left-hander there. And we saw last night how it was catching drivers out. Drivers like our broadcast director Justin Miffs had caught him out in the practice session. It's so bumpy on the entry there that it really tries to discourage you from really attacking the apex there, as Hurkacz goes 19th fastest in this session. But it will punish you if you do not respect the bumps.
It certainly will. So Hurkacz then doing a really nice job getting the times in that's needed. Whitehead, of course, still on top of the timing stands at this moment, but there are a number of names out here who maybe do want to put those challenges in. Very strong teams that we have seen with World Pro Racing. You've got the likes of Pedrozzini in 7th position, the leading Aston Martin. He's driving for the Ashtois Racing team at this moment in time. So P7 right now, that's not bad. 1.1 seconds. Maybe needs to find a little bit of improvement in that turn of respect, as Luke Whitehead actually found another 3.5 tenths of a second over the course of that last lap to put himself even further ahead of everybody else in this field right now. But you're seeing here drivers like Kalai Atkins in here. You've got Johnston, who could really challenge. A couple of those Porsches looking like they've really got opportunities to go out there and make something happen.
Yeah, really have, and anything can happen over the 85 minutes, 90 minutes that we've got in the race coming up over the 226 kilometers. So as long as you keep your nose clean, keep your side pods clean, keep your door relatively clean as well, you should have a good chance of finishing high up the field. And we've seen over the coming weeks for these longer endurance sort of sprint endurance races, sort of a mix between the two, because obviously you've only got the one driver to rely on and to be there, as Yannick Müller now goes second fastest in the Audi. 53.7 is his fastest lap time. So it's really important that you keep on keeping on, as I would say, in these sort of mix between sprint and endurance racing. You've only got the one driver, so you're relying on yourself not to make those mistakes. As here comes Ivaylo Wojciech towards the line, as he now goes 12th fastest in the IDS Racing McLaren, and that is a 55.3, putting him onto, well, what would have been the 6th row of the grid had this been qualifying.
Definitely can't miss the Bulgarians' machine out there on track. There is Stefan Lingar, then in the number 34 machine right now. Danish driver making progress up through in the AMG Mercedes, looking for times. And this would be what you would call maybe a better car suited to the Nordschleife than the Grand Prix circuit here, that AMG Mercedes. It's very, very good with top end. It's very, very alert to being quick on a quick lap. But you have a lot of sections on this course where you are in those low to mid gears, and that's not necessarily the advantage of the AMG Mercedes. Sheldon Muscat, currently that leading Mercedes at this moment in time, riding in for the GT Omega RPM Esports team. He's down there in P13 at this moment in time, trying to find as much as you can possibly get. I want to keep an eye out, though, on the driver in 11th position right now. He's down in the pits here. It's Jimmy Holm in the Holming Missile car, or in the Ania car at this stage. Now, I wonder if he's unwell or not here at this stage right now, really, Kieran, because he's not in a Ferrari.
Yeah, and he's not running a 777 either. Not that lime green homing missile we're all so familiar with. Yeah, I'm wondering if we can check on him. But he's driving a McLaren. He's driving the 590 car, and we'll have to see what sort of times he can put in a car that I'm sure he's put a lot of practice into. It's just we're so unfamiliar without seeing that lime green 777 homing missile Ferrari. So it's currently 11th fastest so far. So he's probably thinking maybe today's not the day to bring that homing missile Ferrari out.
No, it definitely doesn't look that way. I don't see a single Ferrari inside the top 23 on the board. There is Regan Mitchell trying to really put something of that Lamborghini through the middle sector. And that Lamborghini is a very interesting car in terms of dynamic, because, of course, Lamborghini and Audi effectively are near each other in terms of partnership. So there are a lot of similarities that you can find, even though they look drastically different by design. That Lamborghini has a lot of Audi elements and aesthetics to it, which make it a fairly similar outfit.
Yeah, and you can definitely see how that sort of Audi takeover of Lamborghini has helped them in the long run. But it's allowing still, you've got these aggressive designs by the Lamborghini, as you can see there, Regan Mitchell putting out the back end then through the first part of that penultimate chicane, as he now makes his way through on through towards the Advan Arch. It's still a great looking car, the Lamborghini, and having that little bit of Audi, backing behind it has really helped them to find that performance they were missing. It's all great looking good out there, but you've got to actually have a car that's good enough to bring you to the top.
You need to do more than just look the part. You need to act the part as well, as these drivers look to continue on their practice laps. There will be qualifying coming up after this. Track temp 31 degrees here at the Nurburgring. It's bright, sunny conditions. As we look at Chris Pinchbeck then in the SimSport racing machine right now, and that very, very nice machine. It looks very much striking as it goes through this very long right-hand bend heading to the Advan Arch. So this is really a point on the circuit where you can open up there out of what was the Bilstein bend and start really putting the power down all the way to this chicane, where it's going to be a little bit tougher than usual to go and get those moves done through that run. Normally you have a massive braking zone on the Grand Prix layout of this track, where you have that very tight chicane where you can go and send one down the inside. Because you've got that middling third, fourth gear style corner, really, Kieran, we're going to see, if you want to go and make a move, you are committed to making that move and hoping the driver you're getting by does not move out of the way.
Yeah, and we saw it last night at Germanfest here at World Pro Racing. Sometimes you do have to be just a little bit aggressive to get a move done around this track. The overtaking opportunities are a little limited at this track because of there's so many high-speed corners. I mean, you've got the chicanes here. You've got possibly Ravenel Bend and Bilstein Bend, who we're watching Martin Pilkington make his way through now. I mean, they're long corners. They're not really heavy braking zones. The heaviest braking zone you've got is the Dunlop curve down at turn 7, the hairpin, and also the very first corner, turn 1, down in towards you're sort of heading downhill all the way through the braking zone, all the way through the apex, trying to get the power on there. Those are your two best chances of an overtake. Perhaps turns 3 and 4 as you exit the Mercedes arena, also a good opportunity, but that's already if you're side by side, so it's a really challenging circuit for overtaking. The best chance of you having a good performance in this race is doing the bit in qualifying, which is just moments away, as Martin Pilkington now goes up the order inside of the top 10. We've got Rumsey here in the Axiom Sim Racing Lexus, number 377, making his way now on towards the final corner, the Hyundai N corner, making his way through the 15th turn of the track, ready to put the power down. And Daniel Rumsey making his way towards the line. He's currently 26th fastest in this practice session. He stays 26th fastest. Did set a faster lap time by 0.8 of a second, but it was not a valid one.
No, and that's a shame, because that would have really put him a lot closer there to Pai in 25th, who is the leading Ferrari, actually, surprisingly, in that 25th position. Mikhail Mecheka then moving up into 14th position then in the AMG Mercedes there. The Maltese driver doing exactly what's needed. And keep an eye out here on the Latvian Samir Folk, who is in a not a Ferrari racing team right now. You can tell it's not a Ferrari because it is very clearly a Lexus that he is driving around in right now. Second fastest Lexus on the board as things stands. 1.4 seconds there or thereabouts behind Luke Whitehead at this moment in time. But practice just about going to come to a close. So the feeling out process of who's got pace and who hasn't, that has all brought itself to reality. The next reality here that we're going to be seeing right now, Kieran, is who's got it over the best over 1 lap pace.
Yeah, and that's when we'll see lighter cars out there, sticky tyres, trying to find the space out there. I mean, we've got, at least 25, 26 cars out here on circuit. So finding your own bit of track out there around this 5-kilometre circuit, it's going to be a tough one, especially with all that traffic out there. We'll have to see who can get the best lap in within those 15 minutes as Samir Foch makes his way now through the Schumacher S, on his way now towards the penultimate chicane, up towards Ravenel Bend, this tight left turn after that long acceleration from the Schumacher S, quickly followed then by Bilstein Bend. As you dip down then, get on the power too early and you promote the understeer out of Bilstein Bend through the Advan Arch, then flat out through here. Pretty much no matter what car you're driving these days, it's flat out as you now make your way towards the Vidal chicane. Braking here, you've got bumpy entry here, so don't go too aggressive, otherwise the car will snap. It will not like it. Now in towards the Hyundai N corner, The 15th turn of the track for Samir Foch at the number 8 Lexus, making his way towards the line. Can he make an improvement to go faster than 12th fastest? He can. 8th fastest in that practice session. 1.137 seconds off the lead time. So that's practice done. That's the last chance then for these drivers, which I always say, to make their final mistakes. All out of the system now. We've got qualifying, a critical one at that too.
And we just saw there at the end of practice a number of drivers just finding those improvements, those 2 or 3 tenths of a seconds to jump them up. We saw Jimmy Holm move up into 8th place temporarily. We saw the likes as well of, I think it was Volanov there, who made that really good drive up forward there. Don't quote me on name, I had a glancing look. But at this moment in time, you know, we are seeing drivers now starting to feel more comfortable. End of session, you're not going to be seeing drivers, Kieran, maybe having other people respond to it. So you could say at the end of a practice, it's the perfect time to go out there and set your fastest lap.
It is, because you don't want to reveal too much. You want to keep your cards close to your chest as much as possible before qualifying gets going. Practice really is a chance for you to try and nail down your race pace. How are you going to be on your race pace against everybody else out on track? Qualifying setups are a thing, trust me on that. We saw that last night. So getting that lap in qualifying is critical, but then not having the race pace for the next 85, 90 minutes is going to be a huge loss if you haven't got the car set up for it. If you've got a car that's got, you know, doesn't treat its tyres right, chews through them, if you're using more fuel than you have to, that's all things that will come back to haunt you coming into the race. So do you go all out in qualifying and then just worry about it for the rest of the race, or do you sacrifice a slight bit of that qualifying to make sure you've got a good race car heading into that long race?
And those are the dichotomies and the dynamics that all these drivers will be focusing on as qualifying is underway. You can see there on the mini-map that you can see on your screen how everyone is trying to file themselves forward, get a little bit of base, but no shocks. That car number 22 there of Luke Whitehead is the first one out of the pits and looking to try and get good lap times down on the board quickly, mainly because you've got that fresh air, you've got clean track in front of you to go out there and attack. You may as well. You've got every single opportunity to do so without maybe a slower driver in front making those mistakes. And really, when you have a vehicle that looks as striking as that, when you're part of the Jensen team rocket machine, you have to be absolutely on it because you're representing, firstly, a Formula One world champion, and secondly, you're representing something which, in terms of sim racing, is just getting better and better and better.
And you have to say as well, has to be the number 22 on that car as well. All tick the boxes there. Now let's see what his one lap pace is like as we make our way now down towards the first corner. You can see the car fighting there, the opposite lock as we make our way through the first turn. Downhill entry, careful not to lock a brake as we head our way through the Mercedes arena. Through turn 2 we go. Careful not to get too early on the power, then you'll promote that understeer. Through in towards turn 3, again the car wanting to have a fight of that rear end as we make our way now through turn 4. Onwards now towards the next part of the circuit as we then head towards the Dunlop Bend, making our way through, well, I should say the second chicane really, making our way through turn 5, onwards then towards turn 6 as you have to try and flick the car back in towards line towards turn 6. You use plenty of the curb on exit as you make your way now down towards the Dunlop curve. Heavy braking, wonder what line is going to be taken in towards the hairpin. Will it be arrow straight towards the apex? No, a little bit of trail braking there from Luke Whitehead heading in towards the 7th corner. Careful on the power here, you go uphill, so plenty of power to use up towards the Schumacher S.
And that Schumacher S is such a ferocious left and right. The moment you step out of line or get a wiggle, it all goes horribly wrong. Ravenel then comes next, and if you do get a great run, there is a chance here, but it is a tough apex to go and find yourself on the inside. That immediately follows here in what is a sweeping left-right of two 90-degree corners here with that Bilstein corner, and now up through the Advan Arch. You'll be getting a small hint of toe from that driver in front of him as he takes this small right, and then you've got to sight your braking zone. You can see where the markers are. He gets himself braking at about 60 meters, which is very late through that section to hit the brakes and make sure you get everything slowed down. Car gets out of the way through the Hyundai N-curve then as you try and carry as much as you can on the inside without clipping there the inside of the Armco. Of course, on the opposite side of the inside, there is a 53.4 is put on the board. We saw David Coulthard do something similar at Adelaide, put it in the wall there, so you've got to be alert to that. But that's a really strong lap. How strong, you may ask? Well, the driver who was second in practice is only 1.2 seconds back. That says all you need to know. Coleman Corkery moving up to third, but then Jimmy Holm jumping up, making it McLaren 1-2 in the very early stages. And
then you have to say the very early stages. There's Armin Mayek now in towards the right-hander here, going through the Bilstein bend, making our way now on towards the Advan Arch. And of course, he's one of the next to set a lap time. And the number 47 Porsche, making our way now up towards the Vidal chicane. Very bumpy on the entry here. Got to try and make sure you've got the suspension to really absorb the bumps. Making our way now in towards the Hyundai N corner. Lots of different lines being taken through that 15th corner. It's a right-hander that seems like it goes on forever. You're waiting an age to put down the power, but when you do, you've got to make sure you do it at the right moment. 13th fastest from the Porsche, then 56.7 puts him onto the 7th row of the grid.
For the time being anyway, we've still got a number of drivers, over half the field still yet to set their times. There was a little wiggle going through that final corner, so he had to really get out of the power there to make sure that he made it all the way through. This is Aaron Martin Pilkington, making his progress then up through that chicane, looking to try and take as much as possible. It's single line through there, so you know that if you step out, you're going to be incurring penalties, going off track, having few nightmares around this circuit that I'm sure a number of people will not want. Here's the drive to the line. P2, 0.8 of a second off with that opening lap. So that's pretty solid, but Luke Whitehead taking that big wide line. He's gearing up for a second attempt as he goes through. There is Jimmy Holm in position number 3, only for the time being, because that is Folk there who is moving up into second position.
Yeah, Samir Foch, I believe that is, making his way up towards second place. So good lap time from him. Here comes Jimmy Holm then around the final corner, getting onto the power in his McLaren towards that start-finish line. Can he improve on his own lap time? Yes, he can. Goes 5th fastest with that 54.339 onto the 3rd row of the grid. But as you say, Jake, plenty of qualifying to go. More than half the session left.
More than half the session. We just saw Merla jump up into second, Johnston into third, Mitchell moves up into 4th place. There is Frank Pedrozzini then in the Ashtoire car, really attacking those curves as he goes through. He has just been bumped down into 12th place now. Boychev up into 9th, Kalai Atkins into 8th position, but now here comes Pedrozzini, now down to 13th thanks to Jan Reiler in the Audi, and that is only a position improvement of 1 place then, and immediately it's gone because Raya just behind in the Bentley actually there. The first Bentley moves up into 11th position, so really interesting to see, and it's an early morning for Chris Rye, so rise and shine. He needs to go out there and attack his P26 right now.
Terrible, Jake. Absolutely terrible. But absolutely, he's making his way now on towards the Vidal chicane then in that bright blue and white Audi. Trying to make sure he negotiates that with ease. Going in towards the Hyundai N corner, 15th corner on the track. And onwards now towards the start-finish line. A little bit of a tighter line than we expected out of the exit there. But he makes his way towards the line. And it's 23rd fastest then. 57.2 from the American. Puts him now onto the 12th row of the grid. There's Carly Atkins really attacking the Vidal chicane, and you'll see drivers making use of the curb on the left hand side on the entry in towards Hyundai N corner just to make sure to open up the corner as much as possible. Where can the PC Boys esports driver go? He'll go 4th fastest, 2nd row of the grid with a 54.1.
You definitely can't shake a stick at that time there. 0.6 of a second off of pole position right now, but that's not the cause of concern. They'll probably be happy being on the 2nd row of the grid as Holm now does jump up to the 3rd row. He beats himself forward as he beats up the likes of Folk there, and also Martin Pilkington up. Ziga with a really nice time. We haven't seen much of him over the course of practice. He's moved up into 9th position. He's currently down in the pit at this moment, but this is where it gets interesting because there are some drivers who have pace, there are other drivers who are just sitting back and waiting for what they've got. Here's Jan Reiler in the R3 machine looking to try and improve on 15th position, now 16th place at this moment. That is a great improvement. P9, every reason to be excited about that.
Yeah, and we've got currently 11 drivers within a second of Luke Whitehead's provisional pole position time of a 53.4. And that's if you take into account of Merla's lap time, who is just over 3/10 slower than the pole position time right now. So it's nice and close and compact in that top 10, top 11 right now. And we've still got a few drivers left out there to set some competitive lap times. There's Dan Pye now making his way through the Advan Arch on way towards the Vidal chicane. He's also got the number 38 behind him as well. well as we make our way through that last chicane on the circuit before we make our way towards the Hyundai end corner. Making our way towards turn 15. Finding the apex here, patient on the throttle, don't want to promote the understeer on towards the start-finish line. So Dan Pye, can he make an improvement on his lap time? Yes, he can. He goes 24th fastest in his Ferrari, 56.7.
So 56.7, not bad at all there in terms of finding time. There's still more to be had on the table as Atkins will again make progress to the line, and that is a 53.5. There's the challenge, the first real shot towards Luke Whitehead. The gap down to 1/10 of a second now in qualifying. There is Alex Johnston in the Omega E Racing Team machine. It's going to be looking to try and really attack over the course of this stint and make sure that this qualifying lap works in. And this is probably about the final time you can really abandon a lap here and go out and get something to happen, because you've got about 5 minutes to go. You probably want 2 laps to make sure that everything's up to temperature and you're truly attacking.
Absolutely, Alex Johnson making his way through the final corner. Onwards he will go towards the start-finish line in the Omega E Racing Team, the number 248 Porsche. Across the line, it is an improvement on his lap time, but not of position just yet, 53.9. It does bring him down into the 53s, within half a second now of Luke Whitehead's provisional pole position time. But just over 4.5 minutes to go. Luke Whitehead still on provisional pole position. Carly Atkins in second place. There's Christopher Legreston then making his way now in the number 63 Lamborghini through the Advan Arch, on his way now towards the Vidal chicane. Currently 28th fastest, 3.5 seconds off the pole position time right now, but he'll be looking to try and attack this final chicane. You see there, just not quite getting onto the curb through there. Probably a wise idea as we now make our way through the final quarter. Onwards then towards the start-finish line, keeping that back end in check. Can Legreston find his way up the table as he makes his way towards the line? Yes, he can. He goes quicker. 26th fastest in this session so far. 3.1 seconds behind our provisional pole position time set by Luke Whitehead.
Yeah, so very, very good in terms of that time for Legreston. Johnson then is starting to charge up the hill and looking to try and get some very alert laps in on the book as well. That's the Schumacher S that he pilots himself through. Worth noting, we do have one BMW in this field, which is really a surprise today in terms of, I would say, the balance of performance right now. Of course, that is Razar, who, when we talk about him as well as Alex Johnson now makes his way up towards that Advan Arch, is someone who traditionally takes the car that nobody else is taking.
Yeah, and it's almost like an underdog status there. It's like, I'm going to take this car, and if I do well, it's fantastic because it's that risk you've taken. If not, then you find out why nobody was choosing the car in the first place. So it's a bit of a kind of a win-win scenario there, but it gives him that challenge. Here's Alex Johnston making his way around the final quarter, onwards towards the start-finish line. He's got a bit of a tow from the Mercedes ahead, and it's definitely helped in some way because it's put him now up to third place, 53.8, putting him now further up onto the second row of the grid. Here comes Luca Raya making his way through towards the final corner in the Bentley, on his way to the start finish line. Where can he put that car, that very powerful Bentley, on this grid? Then he stays 17th fastest, doesn't improve on his last lap time, and he'll be hoping to get another lap time in. Just over 2 minutes left on the clock. If anybody crosses the line now, they've got time for 2 laps, but getting to that point where it's coming down to last chance saloon.
It certainly is. Now you're starting to see drivers try and search for what they've got. A couple of drivers are in the pits right now. They need to be leaving around now-ish if they want to be going out there, setting one final attempt on the board. So we're going to be seeing this right now. This is Pedrozzini then in the Ashtoire machine, 13th position in the Aston Martin, looking to try and get a good run. Is 1.1 seconds off the pace and getting a lot of traffic there on the run up towards that chicane. 3 vehicles diving out of the way there with the blue flags waving in the background for the number 3 machine. And this for Pedrozzini, he'd want to try and sneak away into the top 10, past Boychev, past Hodak, past the likes of Ziga as well in the Porsche, would be really ideal for the run, and he does not improve on that lap. We are getting to that stage though, minute 20 to go, where you've had 30-odd drivers, 35-odd drivers trying to put laps down on the board. That track will rubber in quickly, and it will come in, it will rubber in, but it will also fall away.
That's important, really, isn't it, as well? It's all well and good, the track improving as much as it possibly can towards the end, but as you say, as you get that better track surface, it is a much more adverse effect on the tyres. So really, if you run longer towards the end of qualifying, you can really start to feel it in the tyres, and really trying to get that down to one good run. Riding aboard then with Luke Whitehead as we make our way now towards the Vidal chicane. Uphill braking on entry, and again attacking this set of chicanes here through the bumpy tarmac, through in towards the Hyundai N corner, getting nice and tight to that wall. Patient on the power and towards the start finish line. Will this be an even quicker lap time from Luke Whitehead? You bet it will. 53.307 from Luke Whitehead extends his lead at the top of the standings here in qualifying, and he's got time for one more.
He certainly does, but he's got himself now a quarter of a second in the back pocket with a rocket lap for the Jenson Button car. So that worked absolutely fantastically. Muscat's jumped up to 13th in the meanwhile, which has really put a spanner in the works for Pedrozzini. Also Corkery moving up then into 12th position. So Pedrozzini all the way back down now in P15. Checkered flag now is out here in session. One car can't improve at the final corner, pulls it off the road, and slow on the exit of the corner, trying to maybe dive into the pits. Pedrozzini's lap gets absolutely ruined there coming up through. We didn't have a way of knowing whether that was a quicker lap or not going through that section, but anyways forward, I'm sure the students will have a little look at exactly how that one all finished up in terms of that qualifying lap. We might see some penalties being applied in at this point for the start of the race for that sort of incident, but Kalai Atkins in the PC Boys Esports car wants to try and find something. Accumulated into the team over the last couple of months, shown incredible pace to try and move forward, has challenged the very, very best, and he gets it all wrong there going through that section, finds himself in the grass, and that will be a pull it over to the side. You're not improving, nor is Yannick Muller then going to find improvements either. Maybe Jan Ryler has a chance here. Heavy over the curb, going through the final corner here of that Hyundai NCAV. Mitchell remains P5 in the Lamborghini as he made the cross to the line, but here comes the Audi looking to surge. What a time from Jan! P5 with the 333, just 0.8 of a second off the pace. That is a wonderful qualifying by his standards. Here comes Sheldon Muscat then as one of the leading AMG Mercedes to the line. He pulls it off to the inside. He's still got 8th place. I wonder if he could snuck a little bit more if he'd kept it in a straight line, but 8th place then coming over to that line indeed. But every reason to smile at this moment in time, because that was some wonderful qualifying. But really, Kieran, no doubt about who was in position number one throughout the entirety of that session. Luke Whitehead is trying to make sure that he is lights to flag through practice, through qualifying, and through the race. It looks like he wants a grand slam today.
It does look like he wants that, and we know he's capable of doing that as well. Carly Atkins was setting faster lap times towards the end of the session. He looks like the closest rival to Luke Whitehead going in towards this next 85-minute race. So it's going to be cards on the table here. Luke Whitehead isn't as far ahead as he has been previously in qualifying sessions. That's a good omen for us because it means we get more competitive racing. And I have to say, throughout the entire field, it has been so closely fought together for those qualifying positions, and in terms of how close everybody is out there, the 30 odd cars we've got racing tonight, it should be a really, really good sign of things to come.
It really should, and this is where we're going to be seeing here drivers try and work out what they need to do. You can't win this race on the opening lap, but my goodness, can you lose it over the course of 90 minutes worth of racing action. You have to be alert, you have to be honest, and you have to be on it as you try and make that progress through. Of course, you can join worldproracing.com/events for more action that comes up. There is so much that goes along. You can be part of that as well if you are brand new to sim racing, or you are trying to be a veteran looking for the next place to get your big race. There are some amazing races that come up all throughout the week as well. And Kieran, just to talk about that and just to branch on that for a second, there's so much that goes on, so many different events, so many amazing things that go along here with World Pro Racing that you find that there is something out there for literally everyone.
I mean, we've got racing here at the Nurburgring and these GT3 cars. We head over to R Factor 2 on Wednesday for the 5th round of the USF 2000 series. We've also got coming up in the future, the 16th of April, we've got the 2 hours of Spa GT4 event. So it's a lot of things going on at this moment in time. Lots more in the pipeline, I'm sure, as well. Plus, we've got our HyperX Open series, which has been proving very, very popular. Prizes on the line for the top 3 in each race at the end of the event. So it's looking pretty good. There's something for everybody, and with more races being added every week, it wouldn't hurt to give you a try and a shot at seeing if you can be quick enough to make it onto our grid here.
I'm just getting word in actually from the stewards. Car 13 is to be assessed a 5-second time penalty for dangerous slowdown on track and causing an avoidable incident. We'll be heading to the start. So the 13 machine in a world of trouble, which will be a little bit ways down at this point in time. Everybody getting themselves set up. It's an hour and 25 minutes, which is on the clock. So always going to be working here at this stage. Whitehead with control there, drops the green flag, and we are underway. Atkins immediately with a wonderful jump off the line in the Porsche. He gets himself straight through. Whitehead's been a little bit caught out with that one, and they're 3 wide here as they go in. Little bit of contact there with Johnson as he tries to dive through, and 3 wide through the corner. Oh, this could be very messy on the exit there. Getting a little bit shuffled out there, I believe, was Muller there getting a little bit shuffled out as they continue 3 wide, and there's a spin. There's a spin. Martin Pinkington there getting himself a spin, and there's going to be huge dramas in the middle as they all scatter. We just completely missed it on the cameras, but everyone's scattered.
Yeah, everyone's scattered there, but what a start from Carly Atkins, taking a firm hold of this lead right about now. He just looked like he got the reaction just much better. So a great start from Atkins. He's now taken over the lead of this race. There's Frank Petrozzini there in the Ashtar racing car, making his way through, trying to find a way through. Regan Mitchell is one of the cars that was facing the wrong way at the first corner there, rolling backwards. He had a decent qualifying position, but he's all the way now really down the back of the field. So he's going to have to work hard. He's got, an hour and 20 still of this race to go. It's not the end of the world, but it's not at all where we wanted this race to start.
Yeah, it's Groenbeck who has the penalty. Then there is Kirsten Abeja then in the Ferrari in 19th position. Good start from Kirsten at this stage, who wants to try and really jump up through this field as much as possible. Replay then on screen about what happened. This is Daniel Nunes suspected then on the opening lap. You can see he gets himself all the way on the outside, has to try and gather it back in. So that's a pass in the grass if ever I saw one. Then he had his spin there at turn number 1, but the real issue is going to be what happens at turn 2, where you see another spin that happens along, but we aren't able to bring that to you at this moment in time. So the changing of positions here very much coming in. Looks like Hodak's had a moment out on circuit. He's really dropped down the timing standards. There's that fight for 13th continuing. Muscat and Corkery then looking for places to change at the moment. 1 lap then scored very comfortably in the books as Muscat now looks at this one then, potentially on the inside, going to turn 1. He's trying to get through against Froch there in what is the Alexa, trying to go through. He can't quite get it done right now, but this is what you get. You get pack mentality, and if you're going to take places, you have to do it early. He had to take a double take through that corner there, Kieran, because of the fact that he had no room at the end. And there is Lingard there just behind in 14th, looking pretty strong actually there, you could say at this moment.
Yeah, we've got Martin Groenbeck there, the Danish driver, trying to find a way through, going side by side. I think that's the number 77, so that's Dan Pye then making our way now in through turn 3 at this Mercedes arena. Has Groenbeck got the move done? Yes, he has, and moves, I think he's trying to defend actually there, but he's running the number 13 car. We saw the number 13 car have a good performance last night. Some drivers just like that omen of the number 13 on their car, although most drivers stay away from it. We've got a spinner in the background there, as I think that was the slightly greenish lime green car then, having trouble trying to find out who that is, but we've got a spinner at the back. It's Regan Mitchell who's found himself around then at turn 6, and he'll be rejoining that track then, but he will not be happy about that one. We've got a car in the pits already then early on in this stage. Whether that's a retirement or not, I will not be able to tell you. There's Boychev then in 7th place. He's got Jimmy Holm right behind him in the number 590 McLaren. 2 McLarens close together out on track. It's Carly Atkins leading the way. Luke Whitehead in 2nd place. And there's Kirsten Abeja in the GT Omega RPM Esports Ferrari. The number 4 car under pressure then from from Cheka as we make our way now up towards Vidal chicane then, and the Mercedes trying to find a way through. The number 27 making himself a nuisance, and Kirsten Abea riding the curbs then to try and find a way to stay on this track. And all through all of that, Macheka has actually lost a position to Pinchbeck. Then the number 43 slips through.
Yeah, that was more rallycross than it was race style, but Merkieka then is going to maybe lose out. This is Volodya who's trying to find a way through, as out comes Hodak then. Oh, that was close as they jam on the brakes. Abeja's going to lose one down on the inside. Merkieka might just get the place that he's wanted all race long here to get that one through. Pinchbeck picking up one quite nicely, but Abeja here again holding a great line. This is great stuff, and there's someone in the grass there on the inside. Not quite sure who that was. That looks like that's Sheldon Muscat then, who's run into troubles there going through turn 2.
Yeah, I think we've got Tom McEwing around at turn 1 as well. Lots of drivers being caught out by these early bits and moves out here. We're going to be watching this battle here. So it was a Porsche. All the half spin, then another contact, a collision there with the number 78 car finds himself into the gravel. Luckily, the gravel here isn't as deep as it is in real life, and you can just keep going your merry way. But the stewards will want to be having another closer look at that one down in towards turns 5 and 6 then. There's Macheka then in the number 27 Mercedes under pressure then from Volodya, as we see then cutting to Linga, who's under pressure from car behind the McLaren. I think that is Tom McEwing, then the number 90 car making their way now up towards the Ravenel bend and then into Blistein bend. There's Tomislav Hodak, who we saw then on the left-hand side of your screen is going down towards turn 1, exiting the pit lane. A very terrifying concept for everyone involved, but everyone made it through.
They certainly did. I want to focus here on the front of the field right now because it is absolutely stacked at this stage for the top 4. There is Boychev at the moment, but they can see 1, 2, 3, and 4. Whitehead is back through on Kalai Atkins. Then you got Johnston then in 3rd, and Martin Pilkington having a really good start to this race is now in 4th position. And this is where Whitehead now needs to try and brake and just concentrate on those laps. He's got the gap up to 0.6 of a second. And he's got Atkins, crucially, thinking about who's behind him right now. You've got that other Porsche there. The Porsche's looking really good. And then the Lexus on top of that. So it's head down mode, you could say, at this stage for Luke Whitehead. Keep it smooth, keep it consistent. And as it says on the spoiler, he wants to be world's fastest.
He does want to be world's fastest at this moment in time to just try and get away from Carly Atkins. 0.6 of a second is the gap between our top 2. But there you can see Alex Johnson in 3rd place, Martin Pilkington, in 4th place then. And it's a slight gap to Merla behind, about 2 seconds back. Then is Jan Ryler in 6th place, Boychev in 7th, Holman 8th, Raya in 9th, Ziege in 10th, Corkery in 11th, Foch in 12th, Petrozzini in 13th place, Kunchabo in 14th, and Lingar rounding off our top 15 in this race. Still, all the runners, I believe, that started this race still in it at this moment in time. The number 90 car still in the race, as we saw there leaving the pit lane, as we see Luke Whitehead now making his way up towards the Ravenel bend, but he's got Carly Atkins all over the back of him.
Certainly does, and running wide in the background there was Martin Pilkington then, having a little bit of a struggle, so that didn't help proceedings too much. So more to be done at this moment in time. If you're going to pick up the result that you very much need, there are no guarantees at this stage that you've got what you need on the table. You've got to build it up lap on lap, brick by brick, so to speak, as you go on through. We go on board here with Atkins in 2nd position, and look at that gap. It's now up at 0.9 of a second, and just fighting a little bit there through the final corner, trying to put the power down. And now you can see where it becomes crucial in terms of this race. Whitehead has clean air in front, and the worst thing you can give a Luke Whitehead is clean air, because he takes advantage of that every single time he goes and he races, and Atkins is just desperately trying to cling on at this point with fingernails.
Yeah, definitely. But with still a long, long way to go in this race, 1 second at this early stage is not the end of the world. We know the pace that Atkins has in that PC Boys Esports Porsche. We know how quick he is out here. It's just trying to make sure he strings those laps together constantly, because we know Luke Whitehead can do exactly that. Alex Johnson in 3rd there. Tom McEwing is in 15th place. He's under pressure, though, from Pinchbeck as we make our way in towards turn 3. In turn is under pressure from the number 8 car of Samir Foch as we now make our way through turn 4. Tom McEwing is trying to chase down Petrozzini. So McEwing up into 15th place, Pinchbeck 16th, and Samir Foch in 17th place. And Tom McEwing here will just be trying to keep his head down, and he'll be hoping that he took part in German Fest last night. He was in the BMW and he made a couple of mistakes down at turn 1. He's hoping he's got those mistakes out of his system. Right now, he's currently pretty much halfway through the field in 15th place.
He certainly is. There is Vilo Boychev, who is down a place now. Jimmy Holmes found a way through, and suddenly it's that very imposing Bentley just behind there of Raya, who wants to try and get through and wants to move up into the 8th position here in this race. This is an important point in this one. We're about 15 minutes coming up through here, or 10 minutes, I should say, coming up through this race at this moment in time. And just looking at the in-sim time, it's about 6:12 p.m. right now. So this track, it's only going to be doing one thing the longer this race goes on here, Kieran. It's going to get colder, which means it's going to get slipperier.
That is very true indeed, and these tyres will have to hold on for at least some point. Of course, we've got that pit window, that mandatory pit window, 10 minutes of it halfway through this race, and that's going to be a critical time to choose when to change your tyres. Samir Foch in 16th place, McEwing now down to 17th place, so he's lost 2 positions in the space of a lap. McEwing trying to go round the long way in towards turn 15. Maybe he'll be able to grab an earlier apex to try and get some more speed down the start-finish straight. Let's have a look at replay here. So we've got Sheldon Muscat here up the inside going in towards turn 2. A bit of contact, and that is him. A bit of a half spin on towards the gravel inside of the track there, and that's possibly what you saw there, Jake, earlier on involving Sheldon Muscat.
Yeah, that's why he was down the order, so that's where the struggles all come in. So Foch then in 16th position has dropped back a little bit right now. In terms of great gains here, there have been a lot of drivers who've been promoting themselves up through the field, none more so than the driver in 12th position in the Bentley right now, who's having a really strong drive, and that's Gergely Kunshabo at this moment in time. So the Hungarian driver doing really, really well. There is Stefan Lingard, though, just behind him in 13th, and he's having to play defensive at this moment in time because he's got Petrozzini in the Ashtar machine wanting to try and get through to move back into the 13th position. So still a lot to come along. There you see the contrasting lines. You either take the big wide line through the corner, narrow it off, or you can do what a lot of people have been doing over the course of this race so far, and that is diamonding the corner.
Diamonding the corner, absolutely. Just trying to make sure you brush up on your terms before you come to a pro racing stream. That is for sure. Is Stefan Linger trying to hold off Petrozzini there. This is a battle for 13th place as we now make our way now in towards the Bilstein Bend, as we now wind up towards the Advan Arch, all the way through that long right-hander. Armin Mayek there getting a couple of positions, as of course we've got the lapped car, the 89 car of Hodak there, just trying to get out of the way of some of the other drivers behind him. But at the moment then, we've got Tommy Atkins. Oh, we've got a Lamborghini in the background there. That's number 78. It's Regan Mitchell, who finds himself around yet again.
Just like that, a race can go from bad to worse to downright terrible at this moment in time. And I tell you what, Regan Mitchell, sort of driver right now, he just needs a hug coming after this race, because he just is absolutely not finding any love at all with this place. Defended line in towards turn 1. Door is left open here by Lingard, but he does cover that off nicely, taking a middle of the road line in towards turn 1. But all of this defending right now from that AMG Mercedes, look at how it's bringing the train back again, and this is only going to make life more and more awkward as things go on. And now you've opened up a door on the outside potentially for Petrozzini, who's trying every which way to get through, as they'll look back to the Mullenbacher Schleif portion of the circuit. He won't get there, but suddenly there was a little half look on the inside there from Pinchbeck, who definitely was trying to pinch a position or two.
Yeah, and you've got Petrozzini right behind, looking for a way past. Behind him as well is Pinchbeck for 15th place, who's also looking to try and take advantage. He's looking for a different line going down in towards the Dunlop curve here through turn 7. And again, different lines being taken by 2 different drivers of Linger and Petrozzini. All about trying to find a different line. Where can you find the pace? And this goes back to Samir Foch, Tom McEwing and Mercheka right behind as well. So 5 cars in this battle for 13th place as they make their way through the Schumacher S. Onwards they will go then towards Ravenel Bend.
And through Ravenel they come along here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them in the battle, all hoping that their position can change and they can find the move that they need to. They've already dropped about 5 seconds back of Gurshali Kunchabo in position number 12 at this moment in time. So they've got a lot of work to do, and we just noticed as well that Corkery has moved up into 10th position. He's through on Ziga as well. There's Pinchbeck. He's actually lost one out to Foch there coming up the hill. So a real struggle trying to get things going. Wide there goes Petrozzini. He got himself the Tony Hawk line there coming out of that corner there. Got all over that massive high curve, and that has cost him 2 places.
It has indeed. And Chris Pinchbeck, 15th place right now in the SimSport racing car. Once again looking try and find a way past. We've got 2 cars looking for a battle here, Petrozzini and Tom McEwing. Sheldon Muscat, though, trying to make his way up the field. He's past the Lexus of Rumsey, but look at the Porsche then of Saristo as we make our way now down towards the start of this race, down towards turn 1. Surely we're not going to think about going 3 wide here. We're going to go 2 wide at the very least. Muscat's got the inside line, then he'll try and get the power down, which he does. Rumsey is under pressure then from Saristo, as Saristo takes to the grass then and drops another couple of positions. The Audi of Hercart goes through, and they've got to be careful because Rise here is trying to find his way through. He's joining onto that battle in the number 21 car.
Well, the OS racing car there for Oscar Sarito. They're not really doing so good with that bit of contact. Easily happens through there. Immediately Huckout trying to look down to the inside in the Audi to pick up the place and get that move done. It's not happening here, as it looks like drivers are trying to just sort themselves out into position, make sure they find something. Luca Raya going for a world of a ride as he gets himself through that Ravenel. Where on earth was he flying to?
I think he was flying to the next event and back, but he's found himself back onto the track at the very least. No damage to that car. That's the most important thing. You don't want to go into a long race here with more than half the race to go with a wounded car. So luckily not to find anything, but he'll have to give up his 12th place because of that off-track excursion. Where he'll rejoin, though, is going to be a matter for the timing screens.
Well, he is in 12th position right now. He was up there fighting for 8th place against Boychev, so had a massive moment over the curb. Looked like a massive tank slapper. We'll need to have a second look at that if we are to judge what happened. It looked very unnatural to be going that far off at that moment on the track. There is your race leader, by the way, Luke Whitehead here, who is both part of Ashtois, but riding in Jensen Button colours here today. There is Ivailo Boychev. He's still having to fight here because that is Ziga trying to move through then on the inside in the Porsche in the 199. Doesn't get there right now, but that McLaren, that very, very bright McLaren, is looking like it is being once again enveloped behind by the likes of Ziga.
Yeah, absolutely. And up to 9th place, he'll try and defend from that one. He's got Coleman Corkery right ahead of him as well. The Irishman in 8th place, trying to be reeled in by Ivailo Boychev as we make our way now down towards the Dunlop bend, then down towards turn 7. Heavy braking here. We have had words from the stewards then. The incident between car number 4 and 47. That's going to be car number 4, so that's Kirsten Abaya taking a 5-second penalty for causing an avoidable collision. So that's been awarded by the stewards. Kirsten Abaya 5 seconds added to his race time, or for when he serves his pit stop there, you can see has been awarded now.
Certainly has been. So an extra 5 seconds on top of that is not going to be ideal in terms of this race. So 5 seconds, of course, in a longer race like this, 5 seconds is a little bit easier to deal with than you would say in the likes of the sprint series that we'd seen here with World Pro Racing a little bit earlier on in the year and last year, really, Kieran, where 5 seconds means a whole lot more there at the moment. There is Sheldon Muscat again trying to find a way through. This time it's on Legreston then in the Lamborghini, who takes that nice wide line, leaves a whole heap of space and naturally taking the racing line. Sheldon Muscat driving by like it's Sunday traffic at the moment as he moves on forward, even though it is a Saturday here today. He's driving like it's tomorrow, it seems, at this moment. Here comes Huckout, though, immediately trying to capitalise back, but has to lift out of it, try and maybe re-attack to the inside, but no dice doing there. That Lamborghini looked really planted. In fact, both drivers too planted through the corner, and that's going to be wide from Sheldon Muscat. He's too eager to break away. He's got to do it all over again.
Yeah, got to try and find his way past Legreston, and he could lose another position here from Mike Hercart then as we make our way down towards turn 1 then. The number 28 Audi trying to find a way past the number 14 Mercedes of Sheldon Muscat. He'll have the inside line with Hercart, but you can see that later on the brakes was Muscat. He takes full advantage and keeps on in that 23rd place. Saristo under pressure from Rumsey. That's a battle for position for 25th right behind them as well. Rumsey there, you can see, trying to find his way past Saristo in the Porsche ahead. So it's all happening here at the Nurburgring. You're never really sure where to look because there's a great battle happening everywhere.
There certainly is, and that's going to be the key. Every which way you look, there are positions here that are chopping and changing, and every place does matter the longer that this race does go on. And you do see here on the mini-map then on your screen now, these small little pockets of battle packs are coming into play. And this is important right now in terms of thinking about where you're going to be maybe about 20-30 minutes from now. It's Hockett again looking to the outside, this time at the Dunlop corner, and is not going to find that move just yet, but's trying to come back up and under then on that AMG Mercedes, but it does have a good amount of grunt. It does, just to hold that place off for the time being. Ran wide. Thank you, says Saristo, to take the place there. So Oscar jumps up into P24. And is it going to be 2 for 1? Because here comes Rumsey back down the inside, and Rumsey doing well. Aggression's run wide, and Rumsey having an issue. And now here's Lucas Ziga looking behind, because that is the Bentley of Gershly Kunshabo looking to move inside the top 10. At this moment in time, I can't tell you what team Ziga's on because my Russian ain't that good, but at least at this stage, he's holding on to that 10th place.
He is at this moment in time, that's for sure. I think it translates to Pepego Racing. But, oh, we got Pinchbeck trying to go down the inside of Linga there, and he's found himself around. Was he helped there by Petrozzini? If he was, I don't think Petrozzini had much of a choice in that one. But Pinchbeck falls now down the order. I think he's 18th place now, and that is Mercheka right behind. So, a little bit of clumsy, I think, from Pinchbeck. Not like him going down in towards turn 1 there, and he's lost a few positions.
He has lost a few positions, and it's those sorts of mistakes that you want to try and eat out of the game, if you certainly can. You don't want to be making those mistakes time in and time out, and at the moment, someone who's making no mistakes, well, there in the Jensen Team Rocket RJN machine, Luke Whitehead, absolutely flying at this moment in time. 2.3 seconds clear now of Kalai Atkins in second position. You've got Johnston then in third, and then you've got Martin Pilkington in that 4th place at the moment in this race. They are starting to spread out a little bit evenly here at the front, but it's worth saying that at this point in time, 2 seconds is not much of a gap at all. That's one small mistake coming onto the pit lane, one small mistake somewhere on circuit, you're right back on and you are pouncing in this sort of battle. Ziga again having to put himself in a defensive position in that Porsche because that Bentley will rocket up the hill. Here comes Gershly Kunshabo to the inside, and oh, that's brilliant around the outside. That takes bravery from Ziga to make sure he makes that corner.
Yeah, you've got to have a lot of faith in the other driver as well, a lot of respect too, to make sure that he's able to leave the space. Tom McEwing is now 15th place, but he's under pressure from Aida Kola then as we make our way through in towards the final corner. And McEwing right now, again, has a big Bentley right behind him, the number 79 car of Aida Kola, now down the start-finish straight. There's Sheldon Muscat then. He's now under pressure from Saristo as we make our way now in towards the Vidal chicane. Right behind him is Herkart. So these guys are going to be battling hammer and tong down in towards the final corner. We go along the start-finish straight. We'll have to see what this happens then as the three of them do battle down the start-finish straight, perhaps towards turn 1. Could be an opportunity for Oscar Saristo as we make our way down towards turn 1. You see there Muscat's promoting, defending that inside line. Down into turn 1 we go. Herkart's trying to move round the outside of Oscar Saristo then. Can he find that move? No, he can't. Saristo does well to keep the car planted, keeps a hold of his position. This is the problem when you're in the middle of a 3-car battle. You want to be attacking the car ahead, as Saristo's trying to do in towards turn 3, trying to go side by side as we make our way round the outside through turn 4. Muscat should have the line there and the grip out of the corner to hold on for position, but Saristo, as much as he attacks, he's got to be careful from Herkart behind because he will sweep up any mistake.
He certainly will. And I tell you what, Sheldon Muscat here definitely not being able to pull away right now, probably because of the damage to the front. If you look at that bonnet, every single time that he's going down one of those straights with any real sense of speed. You can see it's flexing and wiggling. I'm just thinking that one strut or two struts that are there underneath are going to be trouble. There is trouble then. Zaristo going for a gap which does not exist. There, Hockett very nearly getting taken out as well as he goes on through. But really for Sheldon Scott Muscat then, that was a very, very unfortunate incident for him as he went through. Zaristo just putting his nose where, quite arguably you could say there, Kieran, it really didn't belong.
Yeah, and that's always an awkward thing as well. You get a bit frustrated, you want the move done now, and Saristo then paying the price in the end as he now tries to make his way through. Oh, Macheka gets a tap! Was that from Reina Rassar behind it? Was. The BMW makes contact with the back as he now tries to rejoin. Oh, the Ferrari coming through. That's Kirsten Abea. How on earth did he avoid that Macheka racing car? The number 27 is beyond me, but he's got a position out of that as well. Samir Foch battling away with Luca Ziga as we make our way through. Ziga trying to find a way through, and Foch moves up a position to 12th place and keeps on that position in that not a Ferrari Racing Team Lexus.
Well, for Ziga now, that's interesting because Ziga was fighting up there around those drivers and Gershly Conchabo. So that now means that it's a real drop down the order then over the last couple of laps that we haven't seen on camera there. But really this race started to kick off there. About 25 minutes into this one now, they're trying to settle down into a rhythm, and this is where you get into mistakes. Drivers looking to be greedy, picking up positions before those pit stops. In comes Legreston then, looking to make a stop in that 33rd position Lamborghini, the number 63. So this is really the first real stop that we have seen, and probably may need to put one more on the books potentially, but an hour, probably about the longest you can go when it comes to a stint, putting it full of fuel and getting tyres on top of it as well. You've got that real opportunity to go and make something happen.
Yeah, but Legreston's pitting outside of the mandatory pit stop window. There's a 10-minute window that's about 5 minutes from the halfway stage. So it's about 47.5 minutes left on the clock. So he's still got more than 10 minutes before that pit window opens. So I can only think Legreston's got a little bit of damage. Perhaps he's trying to fix that, making sure the car runs okay to the end of the race, because that won't count as a mandatory stop. Just to keep you as much as up to date as we possibly can, we've just been informed by the stewards that the number 63 car of Christopher Legreston has been awarded a 5-second time penalty for a collision, an avoidable collision with number 71. So that's Daniel Nunes. So that will be awarded to Christopher Legreston, a 5-second time penalty. Rumsey under pressure then from the Lamborghini behind. That's Volodya as we make our way now up towards the Vidal chicane, as Volodya in the number 7 car trying to find his way past. Can't quite find it through there just yet, but he's putting that pressure on and he's turning up the wick.
Certainly is. He is apparently, with his team name, busy grinding War Thunder as a game. So he'll be certainly looking to try and blast his way through if he can. 26th position, not quite where he wants to be at the moment. And there is Grönbeck then in the 13, currently in P30, and is looking a little bit further behind. I believe that is the lap down 089 there of Hodak getting himself unlapped in comparison to that. Also, the 48 machine has been given a 5-second time penalty. That is the other Atkins out there in the field, down in 32nd position. So an extra 5 seconds added on top of that. And what's key with the penalties so far that we have seen, they've only been from lap 1 and lap 2, which says all you need to know about where those penalties are coming in from and just how much work the stewards are going to have to do over the next 20, 30, you could even say 58 minutes remaining of this race.
Yeah, absolutely. And Adrian Figallo, our race director, and George Muscat, our race steward as well, fully trying to make sure that they keep up with all those penalties and all those incidents. It's a very, very busy stewarding room, I can tell you that right now. Always has been, and probably always will be, and I'm sure they won't have it any other way. Stefan Lingard there making his way through the last set of corners now on towards the Vidal chicane. And Lingard holding on to 14th place right now. Tom McEwing in 15th, and Ida Cola there in 16th place. Making our way through the final corner, and Iadecola trying to find his way past in that number 79 Bentley, putting the power down then as we make our way down the start-finish straight. Alex Iadecola dropping back slightly actually in the Bentley then. That's not like the Bentley to be falling back on a straight.
Who also got to figure out as well as they go through. You watch Kirsten Beha in a scrap with Mika Mercieka out there on circuit. It is worth noting that it is sometimes a little bit more beneficial to lift off, save a little bit, and just play patience if something happens in front, if maybe they start really battling aggressively, because you know you've got time on your side to go out and get things going. You don't need really here, Kieran, to go out there, be aggressive and make moves at this point in time in the race. There's still a long amount of race to go overall. We're just under 56 minutes, just under 57 minutes now in this race. So there's still a lot that can go along. There's Tom McEwing, for example, in the McLaren. He's going to be looking to try and work out, okay, I've got a little bit of time to get by Lingard. I know that Lingard loves to defend, and there's a little search to the mirrors there from Yadakola, but really nothing which he is saying, I'm going to make this move. Now, they may have to be careful behind because, of course, they've got that very, very aggressive Frenchman there, Pedrozzini, behind, who will definitely want to go through. Worth keeping in mind as well here, ladies and gentlemen, that Mega Sprint Tuesdays are going to be coming up very, very soon with us here at World Pro Racing. So if you can head over to our website and also our Discord to make sure that you can get all of the action and all of the availabilities that you can get at this moment in time. Now, car 43 will get a 5-second time penalty that we're just hearing on the board for an avoidable collision on lap number 10. So that 43 machine is not going to be very happy about that, I would have thought, as here comes the attack once more from Saristo.
Yeah, that's Pinchbeck who's got the 5-second penalty. That was for a collision with the number 34 car. So that's Stefan Linger-Thompson. So that would have been the incident all sorted there by the stewards, and they've deemed that Chris Pinchbeck is worthy of a 5-second penalty. Sheldon Muscat then under attack from Oscar Saristo in the number 10 Porsche, making our way now up towards the Vidal chicane. As we've already said and already alluded to, so bumpy on entry through there. On new tyres, it's a challenge, let alone on these half race-worn tyres.
Yeah, and that's going to be the key, trying to find out how much grip do I still have, how am I managing those tyres. Saristo then, thinking about the inside, defended by Muscat here on the run down in towards turn number 1, but not enough because the door is left wide open. Well, it's just left as an open door right now, and if you're going to leave it that far open, I may as well come back through. It's almost like going through a cat flap, so to speak. You leave it open for too long, the cat's going to jump straight back out again.
Well, Saristo then try to move up the inside at turn 3, but we quickly cut to Kunchabo because he's now got a position then up on Boychev. So he's now up into 9th place in the minimum effort racing team Bentley, making our way now in the number 11 car through the Ravenel bend. And you can see there, that was the McLaren of Boychev flashing his lights. Now, flashing lights in GT cars can mean a variety of things, but I'm going to assume that that means he wasn't quite happy with the move. Perhaps Kunchabo was aggressive, but perhaps he's now up into 9th place.
Well, of course, there's a lot of psychology you can take from a flashing lights, and when you can have flashing lights. I know that I had a friend of mine who had flashing lights, and he was doing a 24-hour race, and he had his flashing light bound to his push-to-talk, so that would have given all sorts of mixed signals going forward in terms of what you're doing with the flashing lights. Now, Muscat again having to defend here, this 23rd position, as once more Saristo trying to go to the outside here, heading through Revenol, and just about takes all of the road, just about finds a way to the inside, but still, contact! Straight in the middle there. There was Mercieka in trouble then, who had gone for a spin of his own, trying to get back up to pace, and Saristo effectively just chose the wrong lane.
Yeah, absolutely nowhere to go. They were battling away, then just saw a glimpse of a yellow flag then. So if I barely saw it, what were the drivers looking at as well? So, yeah, absolutely nowhere to go. Even if he did see that yellow flag, I don't think he would have been able to stop in time. Just so unfortunate. And unfortunately, he's probably robbed us of a really, really good battle. Pedrozzini, meanwhile, we rejoin another from Yadakola then, making our way now down in towards the back end of the circuit. Frank Pedrozzini flashing his lights. He might know he's on camera. We're watching this battle for 16th place, and you see that Alex Yadakola just ran a little bit too deep into the braking zone there, couldn't quite stop the car in time, and Petrozzini says thank you very much, I'll take that position back. Let's have a replay here then. So this is Mercieka now, he loses the back end there, gets a little bit floaty, so he now tries to put the power down. Oh, does he rejoin onto the circuit? Yes, he does. He does rejoin, but yeah, that's a bit of a tricky one there because it's not like he rejoined and then they emerged straight into the picture. There was a good 2 or 3 seconds there, but even some of the best reflexes in the world will have trouble avoiding that.
Well, there's the issue there as we see Petrosini still trying to aggressively defend here into Revenol corner. The issue there we see with Mercier is here it's on for third place all of a sudden. Martin Pilkington here trying to get through. We've been a little bit quiet here at the front of the field, but suddenly Alex Johnston in his own fight at the moment, he defends it for the time being. That Mercier incident, the key is how much did he heat those tyres in the grass trying to get the car pointed back in a straight line, because the moment he was coming back onto circuit and saw, oh goodness, there's going to be vehicles, I think he immediately or instinctively tried to move to the inside, try and avoid the incident. Of course, they tried to effectively part the seas around him, and ultimately when you decide to try and choose the lane the way that Mercier did, it's always going to end up in incident. First thing you get told, if you get in an incident on track and you're trying to get yourself back going again, hold your line, everyone will try and flow around you.
Yeah, and that's all well and good when you've, got that mindset then, but when it all happens in, seconds, it's always difficult. At that moment in time, you forget that vital bit of information. You're just trying to get back onto the track. You just want to get going again. So maybe a miscommunication as well. Sometimes that can happen, but unfortunately, we were robbed of one great battle, but we've got a great battle here to replace it. This is the battle for third place between Alex Johnson and Aaron Martin Pilkington, making our way now in towards the Bilstein Bend as we wind up the engines then again for the Advan Arch. A little bit of tow here for Martin Pilkington as we make our way through that long right-hander, full power, full throttle all the way through now in towards the Advan Arch. Martin Pilkington looking for a move around the outside here. Too wide through here doesn't normally work too well, but it might be enough to put Alex Johnston off. Johnston, though, does well, pretty much keeps his foot in there and hopes for the best. And what happened was the best because he's still got third place.
He does, and it's only for the time being. The more that they're going to fight like this, though, they're going to bring Merla there behind into the picture. Sorry, at this moment in time. So another little focus to the outside. Is this the late lunge to the inside? No, not going to get an angle to make that happen. But you just got to be patient here if you're Martin Pilkington right now, because we're soon coming up here, and we are fast approaching that 10-minute window, which really does change the aspect of the way that this race is going to be coming along. So it might just be a case of Martin Pilkington wanting track position right now against Johnston to say, I can dictate when I come into the pits then from what is going to be fourth or third position.
Yeah, and that's going to be an important part as well as we are approaching that pit window. It's going to be a little bit of a strategic battle as well, because if one of them pits in, then the other will probably follow through. I mean, Alex Johnston, for example, if he pits in, then it's all well and good for Martin Pilkington to grab the position and just follow him through. He's got the advantage then in terms of strategy because he'll have that first call, if you like. He can then dive into the pits and leave Alex Johnson out for a lap if he wants to try and undercut. It's all going to be a little bit nip and tuck as we head towards that pit window. We are not long away from it at all, about 2.5 minutes away. Ivailo Boychev then in 9th place. He's now got the position against, I think that's one of the Lexuses there as we make our way now down the in towards turn 7. In fact, that is the Bentley, that's the Lexus behind him of Samir Foch. So we're seeing a car that is Kunshabo's dropped down to 12th place then. There he is, the number 11, down now in the 4th car in this queue. So something's happened to Kunshabo. He was running in 9th, he's now down to 12th.
Yeah, just like that, it all changes about again. So Boychev, Foch, you got Raya and Kunshabo then 4 in a line as they go through. There is a penalty now for Sheldon Muscat. Then, which comes through a 5-second time penalty for causing an avoidable collision with the number 10 out there on the road. So that would have been a hit. And then between the 690 and the 27, that will be a 5-second penalty. Oh my word, for Azar. Wide goes Foch. And that is a comfortable one for Raya, who has recovered himself very nicely back into the top 10 and leading Bentley in the field.
Yeah, Boychev made it pretty clear that he wasn't going to leave the outside door open. Samir Foch decided he wanted to call his bluff, and the bluff was called.
Something's happened to Atkins then, because he's now down in 4th place here. Both Johnston and Martin Pilkington have found themselves through. It's cost about 10 seconds then for Kalai Atkins here in terms of this one. I think we need to go back on the replay and see exactly what has happened to the PC Boys Porsche.
Yeah, well, he's got Martin Pilkington ahead of him right now. He's going to have to try and find that move all over again. He had such a good start, started 2nd place, took the lead down in towards turn 1, pretty much getting the move done on the straight. So it's out of the Schumacher S, has a bit of a half spin. Does he keep it out of the wall? Yes, he does. So that's not the end of the world. But as you say, he's lost 2 positions, getting that car going again. And that is not what he wanted whatsoever. The PC Boys esports driver now down to 4th place, but with more than half the race still to go. It's not the end of the world for Atkins, and the pit window is now open.
It certainly is. You can see there it says pit window open at the top, and there's the ticking clock. He makes a big lunge on Martin Pilkington here, does Kalai Atkins, and he gets it done. You can see that's Muller as well in 5th position. He wants to get onto this fight as well. It's a scramble as they will be thinking about that pit window. Surely if you're Muller, now's the time to go into the pits, because look at this. It's side by side they go through. Atkins so late through that section, does a wonderful job, and it looks like, at least at this moment, Atkins and Johnson and then Muller are all going to come into the pits right now. I believe the race leader may also be in the pits down the lane. No, he's still going out there at this moment in time. A lot of lap traffic then to deal with, but really there, let's dissect for a moment as the pit stop strategy comes into play. Karli Atkins' incident there, Kieran, because it was just a case of him just grabbing that curb on the Schumacher S, the car getting effectively flipped up on that tyre wall going around, and it wasn't the fact that he'd spun that was the problem. It looked like he stalled it trying to get it going again.
Yeah, that would have cost him even more time. It would have been okay if he, got the clutch in, managed to keep the engine from stalling, but that cost him even more valuable time. He might have just rejoined in 2nd place like nothing had ever happened, but the fact that happened, he's now down the order, decided to come into the pits early on as well, get on a fresh set of tyres and just see what he can do on them. There's Luca Raya then, who's under pressure from the Lexus behind the number 8 car of Samir Foch as we make our way towards turn 3, and the number 33 car just about holding on to 4th place for now. And this is probably the great time to mention how you know that drivers have made their mandatory stop. That green bar next to a driver's main means that they've completed it. The orange with a number 1 means they need to make 1 more mandatory stop. So for Luke Whitehead, for example, our race leader, still needing to make his mandatory stop. But going longer into this race then, kind of going against the theory I thought I had, talking to you about it, Jake, about pitting in early for a brand new set of tyres.
You have to remember, Luke Whitehead's only got 1 role in this race, and that is that he is at the front of the field. So when he needs to come in and pit, he'll probably do so at the latest available opportunity right now, because he needs to cover every other driver who has come in and made that stop. He's got 12 seconds in his back pocket as they came into the pits behind the likes of Atkins and Johnston and Muller as well, as they all came in. He's now got to have to deal with a little bit of the traffic coming out of the pits then as he goes around. But the big key in terms of at least this moment in time really here is that Luke Whitehead has every tool in the world to say, I will pit when I choose to, and nobody is going to tell me otherwise, because I don't see a world, in at least unless there's big mistakes, where he drops those 12 seconds. You can see that is Boychev he goes by, and Boychev, remember, was in 9th position at the time coming in to make his stop. So that's how long a stop is here in this series. It's nearly an entire lap.
Definitely. And for Luke Whitehead as well, he has to cover off the entire field, but what he'll be thinking about is he's got no one ahead to pass. All the traffic ahead of him will be blue flagged. For everybody else on track, that's not going to be the case. So for the likes of Alex Johnston, Karli Atkins, Muller as well, they'll have to fight through that traffic, at least some of it. They'll have to fight each other as well. And if they do that, they cost themselves time. So for Luke Whitehead, it's as good as clear air as he's going to get.
Certainly is. Martin Pilkington is now down into the pits. Now, this is going to be a crucial factor to this race right now. Where does Martin Pilkington come out in comparison to everyone else? He went out a lap longer. There he goes, coming out of the pits. There goes through one of the machines there, going to make that through. But by the looks of things there from Martin Pilkington, his stop has been absolutely perfect then if he's come back out in 8th place, because that puts him ahead of everyone.
Yeah, we saw, I think that was Karli Atkins right behind him then going down in towards turn 1. So he's timed that perfectly as Luke Whitehead sees a back marker head off into, whoa, that was close there, heading into the pit lane as we make our way through. I think that was Nunes there coming into the pit lane. However, Luke Whitehead escapes it there, probably saw the whole race flash before his eyes, but he's safely into the pits to serve his mandatory stop.
That would have been a big scare for Luke Whitehead to dive massively to the inside. Now, there is Atkins getting it done on Martin Pilkington. The 27 machine has a 10-second stop and go penalty for an unsafe rejoin on lap 16, causing an avoidable incident. I believe that will be Mika Mercieka who has found himself with that penalty. So that'll be a big hurt for him, having to stay in the lane and take an extra stop compared to everybody else out there at the moment. So there is Atkins. He's got the move sorted. He's got exactly what he's wanted from it. But the big key is that he's still behind Johnston as traffic gets itself out of the way.
Yeah, right out of the way as well, getting onto the marbles as well. Normally as traffic, you want to try and reduce that as much as possible, but the Ferrari taking absolutely no chances whatsoever as we now make our way through. I think that was Pi getting out of the way there, so that will probably be why. Now making our way with Carly Atkins, making our way through that final chicane. See again how bumpy it is, but holding on to 8th place right now. He's got Alex Johnston right ahead of him, going through in towards the final corner. And as you said, he's dispatched of Martin Pilkington. He's got one more car to try and take back what would be a net second place. We've got Coleman Corkery in the pit lane. Gurley Kunshabo into the pits, as well as Chris Pinchbeck. We've got a McLaren leaving the pit lane then on the left-hand side of your screen. Making our way now down in towards turn 1. As you can see here, Atkins has got his confidence back. He's got his mojo back. He goes for a move up the inside and takes that position away. So now into 5th place.
Yep, that was wonderfully done then, getting it all sorted, at least at this moment in time. That was on some lap traffic, though, so I believe that was Sheldon Muscat he's found a way by on, who gets out of the way now of the likes, of course, of Muller, then on the back of this 3-car group at that moment. That was Jimmy Holm, actually, coming out of the pits. Now, talk about a great call from Jimmy Holm. He's been quietly putting in the laps. There is, I believe that's Nunes in front of him, making a couple of moments there. But Jimmy Holm, we haven't really talked much about him. The fact that he's only 5 seconds adrift here of that group fighting for the podium, that is just a testament to how quietly consistent he's been running. There is Luke Whitehead at the moment. He is trying to get through on Lingard here for 2nd position overall. Doesn't need to, quote-unquote, make this move. Lingard does still need to come in and make his stop. He's got either this lap or next lap he can come in on the pit window to make that happen, but he comfortably dispatches that, so I would assume that Lingard now, the Danish driver, is probably going to take that as a cue to dive down into the pits. Folk is probably going to, Folk, I should say, should be staying out as much as possible. That's a bit of a tongue twister.
That was a little bit of a tongue twister, but you made it. I'm proud of you. Well done. Linger then comes into the pit lane, and yeah, you saw then coming through the Advan Arch. I mean, he just decided it's not worth battling. It's not worth my time. It's not worth your time either, and just decided to get out of the way. They're on different strategies. You're just costing yourself time if you battle someone who's already pitted. Yannick Merler then currently in 7th place as he looks to try and close in on the Lexus ahead. That's Martin Pilkington heading our way now down in towards turn 1. Luke Whitehead emerging well clear of Alex Johnston, as we really expected, by about 11 seconds. Here comes Yannick Merler up the inside there, and that is the Lexus who has to get out of the way. I think gets a help off the track as well from one of the back markers behind. I think that might have been Sheldon Muscat as well heading our way through. A little bit clumsy going our way through there, but that's the Lexus who's up a position. There you can see Rumsey then in the Axiom Sim Racing car, the number 22, making our way now through into turn 4 and trying to make his way through. He's got cars behind him as well. As we're going side by side once again, we've got Pinchbeck and Petrozzini. Petrozzini's got the move done in the number 3 Ashtar Racing Aston Martin, but the back end switches on him on the entrance in towards the Vidal chicane. Here comes Pinchbeck trying to make a move up the inside. The door is slammed shut in his face, and Petrozzini holds on for 16th place.
For now, because you got this run and the lights flashing there saying, that wasn't quite on the way you shut that door on me, sunshine. I want to try and get through right now. Here as those Anglo-French relations come into play in towards turn number 1. No dice, as that move does not foresee itself being a reality. But now you're seeing drivers in the pits now making those decisions to stop. Lingard has got in. Tell you who's been a really big gainer in terms of those stops. Jan Ryler up there in 9th place, having a really good run in the 333 at this moment, as we see Samir Foch at the last available opportunity diving down into the pits, taking that pit stop and making sure that he is getting all of the service that the Latvian very much needs, and the not a Ferrari racing team Lexus at this stage, and is very much the last drive to come in, and from the race lead as well, which means Luke Whitehead will regain control of this race.
Almost good as well, because you get yourself that little bit of airtime heading into the pit lane if you're one of the last in, of course. Pit window is now shut, and because Samir Foch entered the pit lane before that pit lane window had expired, that will count as his mandatory stop. So I believe everyone's now made their mandatory stop. No penalties will be coming anyone's way for that regard. So with that sorted out, Luke Whitehead takes the lead of this race. Then Alex Johnston in second place, Carly Atkins in third, with Martin Pilkington in fourth. It's Yannick Merler who will be in fifth place. Jimmy Holm will be up into sixth place, the Finnish driver, not in his homing missile 777 Ferrari, having a stonker of a race right now.
Yes, he's definitely found a little bit of love with that McLaren, I would say, at this moment, as we focus on our race leader. And what a gap our race leader has. It's 12.5 seconds, and he's got the fresher of the, I would say, racing that he's got. Of course, pitting later gives him that advantage in the second stint that he has. And with about 36 minutes to go, he is looking really, really good here to make something happen. Just noticing on the timing screen how close it is right now. 10th and 11th, 12th and 13th positions out there on circuit as things stand. It looks like the likes of Boychev and co are going to be in their own scraps at this moment. But really, what can you say at this moment in time? Bit of traffic there to try and deal with for Luke Whitehead, but he deals with that with no issues at all. This is what commanding driving looks like here with what is World Pro Racing.
Yeah, Luke Whitehead making this look easy. 12.8 second lead over Alex Johnston. Kalai Atkins then in third. Martin Pilkington fourth. Yannick Merler in fifth place. Jimmy Holmes sixth. Coleman Corkery in 7th place, Jan Ryler in 8th, Samir Foch has rejoined in 9th place out on track, Gergely Kunshabo in 10th place, Luca Raya in 11th place with Ziga in 12th, Boychev in 13th, McEwing 14th, Linger rounding off our top 15. And looking up and down the order, it's about as spread out as it has been all race, but we've still got some battles out there undecided. Kunshabo and Raya battling away for 10th place. This is another battle, Luca Ziga and Boychev fighting over 12th place.
Yeah, and Ziga over the course of that last sector actually found a way through on Boychev, so that is a change for position then, as Ziga is now up into 12th as the third fastest Porsche in this field. Of course, the Porsches from Leipzig in Germany will be looking for a really, really strong run of things, at least at this moment in time. So they will now be charging themselves back down again towards turn number 1, and we haven't really talked about why turn 1 is so difficult. Not only is it a downhill braking zone, but the track does fall away from you as you go through the corner. It's a very weird and unique corner, the fact that the corner is always falling away. It's so tight and it continues to fall away.
And it continues to fall away as you want to put the power down as well, and that promotes the oversteer and spinning up those rear tyres that you really want to keep to a minimum. So a very challenging corner for drivers, and more than that as well, it's one of the most popular overtaking opportunities on this entire circuit. If you get your braking zone wrong, you are running well off into the gravel trap that's beyond the corner.
You certainly are, and that, of course, for those who remember 2008, I want to say, it was either 07 or 08, how it got incredibly wet and difficult down there. It's very easy to find that gravel if you're not too careful, so drivers will have to be a little bit alert. No such worries here. They're in bright sunny sun, but the track temperature is worth keeping in mind here over the course of the racing that we've seen so far. It has dropped down by 3 degrees as we've been racing, which means that drivers have had to be searching a little bit for the grip the longer that this race has gone on.
Absolutely, and I think you are talking about the 2007 Formula 1 Grand Prix, because it was led with 5 laps by the great Marcus Winkelhock. So of course, it was always a great race, always one to remember. And yes, how treacherous those conditions were, even when the safety car was deployed. How much aquaplaning there was back then. Those tyres still couldn't displace enough of that water. So it's a challenge here in the wet for sure. And that first corner is always a challenge in the dry in the first place, so let alone when it absolutely chucks it down onto the circuit. Stefan Linger then currently in 15th place. There's Luca Raya, who's slowly closing into the back of that Bentley of Gergely Kunshabo, making our way now down in towards turn 1, and the Italian here wants to try and size up a move for 10th place.
certainly does. Wants to try and get through. It's like watching two Mars bars at the moment, the way that they are all built, trying to go out there and have a race. Takes a little bit of a wider line. Misses the apex, though, through the first part of the corner because he wants to try and gather up this 90-degree right-hander. And turn 4 is actually a lot more difficult than people give it credit for because of how shallow and tight it is and because how 90 degrees a corner feels like it's very much another hairpin.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And you've got to try and keep that mentality of finding your apexes, making sure you hit every single braking point because, you know, as you say, some of these corners can be treated like hairpins. Here is an actual hairpin down in towards turn 7 as Luca Raya takes us for a tour on board of the Nurburgring, and then you make your way up towards the Schumacher S, as you alluded to in qualifying, a terrifying set of corners. You have to get this absolutely spot on here through the Michael Schumacher S. Over the crest we will go then towards the Ravenel bend, and making sure we brake then about 110 metres before the corner. Turning in then, again, you have to go over a crest, then you're downhill in towards the Bilstein bend. Wanting to get on the power early then, you see the slight opposite lock as Raya got onto the curb then, but relatively under control at the moment, making her way through the long right-hander of the Advan Arch, try and scrub off the least amount of speed possible up towards the Vidal chicane. Raya's making it clear he's just putting on the pressure for now.
He is, and that's all he needs to do really at this moment in time. He knows that it's about 4 seconds up to Foch there in what is 9th position, so it's a long way to go to try and chase that down. But here comes another attempt here for Luca Raya, the Italian, trying to jump into the top 10. This time he'll have a little look down to the inside, but again can't get there in such a position where he can go out there, attack and gain that place. He has to sit, he has to be patient, and more crucially than all of that, he has to wait another lap around this place to make sure that the move becomes a reality. Traffic getting well out of the way there on the right-hand side, but these are the sorts of moves. And actually, Muller is back in the pit again. So this is really interesting right now. So Muller might have had an issue out on circuit. I wonder if we can catch back and have a look at why he's dropping so far back down.
Yeah, that's never good news when he was running, as you see, in 6th place, even higher than that at that moment in time. That's going to push Jimmy Holm up into 5th place. Corkery is up to 6th as well, so they're the beneficiaries in that one. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we can have a look back and see what happened to Yannick Muller, because he looked comfortable out there in the number 143 Audi. So it'll be a shame to see him fall such a way down the field in that SimSport Racing Audi. Hopefully we get a chance to see what happened, but yeah, at the moment in the pit lane, hopefully we get to see him on track soon.
So that will promote Corkery up into 6th position, so every reason to smile at this stage. This is Stefan Lingard at this moment, which indicates with where he's dropping down the timing stand, so to speak, at this stage right now here, Kieran. It seems like something's happened going into the Carousel-esque corner down there at the lowest part of the Nurburgring circuit through both sections of track down there at Dunlop. So looks like this is, oh my word, he's gone way off, finds the wall actually going through, and that would have been an unforced error for Yannick Muller.
Yeah, so that's why he's coming back to the pit lane. Then a lot of front-end damage needs to be repaired. That's why he's come back to the pits, and hopefully he will try and get to the checkered flag, because you can't go all that way and then not take the checkered flag at the end of the race. He'll be frustrated, he'll be kicking himself, but at the moment in time, he's back in the pits. The team are fixing that car for him. Whether he wants to go back in it is another question.
But it certainly is. 13th, 14th, 15th in their scrap. It seems like McEwing is having to play the defensive part, and everyone else is McEwing behind him at this moment in time, because you've got Petrosini there, who's now going to have to search to the outside to try and make this move in towards turn number 1. He's not scared of making moves, mark my words. He'll take that wide line all the way through. Inside opens up for turn 2, and has he got it? No, it's a bit of contact as they go through there. Little bit of door-to-door, and ultimately, can you shut the door back down again? Well, McEwing can. Now it's Lingard's turn to try and make sure he can find a way through.
Yeah, and door-to-door racing there as McEwing gets a little bit of contact there. Then he has to quickly shut the door on Lingard to try and make his way in towards turn 3. He knew he was under pressure. The moment that contact happened, you saw him think, actually, I'm under pressure here from the car behind, quickly shut the door. But from attacking for 13th place, he's now having to defend now for 14th place on towards the Dunlop curve we go, down towards turn 7. You can see Lingard later on the brakes then through the hairpin. In theory, he's got the earlier apex point, but McEwen's got the racing line as we make our way now up towards the Michael Schumacher-S. They're running side by side. Lingard with just a slight nose ahead. McEwen round the outside for the first part. He'll have the inside line for the second part, right in the curb. Now we make our way now towards the Ravenel bend, and Lingard has the move done then up into 14th place it goes, because McEwen's trying to find a way back through, now in towards Ravenel, now in towards Bilstein. Lingard still has the inside line as McEwen tries to find some way around him, try and take a different line, carry more speed through. You've got cars behind him. You've got Pinchbeck as well, who's looking to try and battle for this position. He's being brought in the more these two battle.
This is an incredible battle, and that is move of the race from Stefan Lingard, because he had to fight for half a lap to make sure he had that secured, and still there isn't a guarantee coming through this corner because that McLaren looks really, really punchy, but doesn't get a good drive actually off of the exit in comparison to that AMG Mercedes. So ultimately it is position made there for the Danish driver in the 34. He now holds himself in a very, very nice 14th place, and now it will be Pinchbeck's turn to attack. And what's crucial about Pinchbeck is that in that stop he had to wait an extra 5 seconds to make sure that he served the penalty that was available to him. If you don't serve it in a pit stop, it is put on after racing is concluded, and he can't get by Tom McEwen right now because he is just playing that patience game and waiting for a clear-cut chance to make the move. As we take a look at Foch, who is actually through now on Jan Ryler. Oh, sorry, those two are now close together. 7th and 8th position, the fight continues.
Yeah, Foch now making his way in towards the Ravenel bend, then towards Bilstein, trying to find that apex then. So in 7th place he will go. He's 10 seconds back on Corkery at the moment. However, he'll be fully focused now as there's a shower of sparks behind Jan Ryler's Audi then as he clouts the curb. Pinchbeck then 16th place, and he's got Tom McEwen right ahead of him. McEwen here knows how to defend. Unfortunately for him, he's having to defend for the 3rd time in about 2 laps. He's lost the pace to Lingard ahead of him and towards Petrozzini. He gets onto the curb there. Pinchbeck sees that invitation, tries to take it then. He'll have to go the long way round in towards Ravenel. He'll have the inside line for Bilstein, but they'll get together then, making a little bit of contact. And the back marker then, I think that's the number 27 of Mercheka, just has to try and keep out of the way for now. He wants to try and unlap himself in this battle. He knows he's got the pace to unlap himself, but he does not want to be the fault here of these two making contact. At the moment though, McEwen's making it clear he wants that 15th place. Pinchbeck backs out of that move then, going side by side with the back marker, and just keeps that car stable to battle again against Tom McEwen.
Yep, so has to stay behind. Merscheka unlapping himself. If he feels he's quicker, he's allowed to, but it's a little bit naughty getting yourself involved in a battle like that. It can be very difficult. I want to focus, though, on 2nd position at the moment, because that gap has been coming down slowly but steadily over the course of racing. And there you can see Kalai Atkins in 3rd place and is really starting to turn that screw. The gap is down to 1 1/4 seconds at the moment, now down to 1.064 as they cross the line. Atkins, in the not too distant future, will be looking to be aggressive here with probably about 20 minutes to go. He'll be trying a move here on Johnston.
Yeah, and of course he was running in 2nd place at that point in the race. He got a great start, and it all started to go wrong about 15 minutes in. But he's well on his way to trying to take back that 2nd place. There you can see Pinchbeck has now got back past the back marker. So the back marker had about 5 seconds of fame before having to give that position back anyway. Pinchbeck then fully focused on closing in on Tom McEwen. And he knows then that McEwen doesn't cope too well with the pressure. He knows if he applies that pressure, there's every chance that McEwen might clout the curb, as we saw him do just a lap ago. Pressure put on McEwen, and he might have 15th place here.
He certainly might, but you can see there's the gap already. He's got to work hard to get back to that first and foremost. As I'm just seeing dropping down, the timing stands a little bit there. Rise is not looking too brilliant. We haven't really seen much of the 21 Audi here, the American, so he's really dropped back. He's now 8 seconds off of Rumsey there in 23rd position. So there is still a lot of racing to go here. 23 minutes remaining here at the Nurburgring for you with World Pro Racing live, of course, on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch as well. You can like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content brought to you by World Pro Racing. And of course, you can join World Pro Racing's community by following us all on all of our social media platforms. We've got weekly races coming along. Head over to worldproracing.com/events for that one. We are focusing on Pinchbeck at this stage, who is fighting it out at this moment in time for what is 15th and 16th place. It is still looking quite close here right now for 9th and 10th also in this race between those two Bentleys of Conchabo and Raya out there, and they'll definitely both be wanting, in terms of this race right now here, Kieran, to be just consolidating those top 10 positions, pull away from Ziga, who's in 11th.
I'm pretty sure Chris Pinchbeck here will never want to see the number 27 ever again, because Malchiek there wants to try and find his way past again. Now, he is a lap down, so Pinchbeck doesn't have to worry too much. But as you said, if a backmarker feels they're fast enough to get past and fast enough to then build a gap, they can make a move. But again, you won't be the most popular driver on the paddock and in the grid if you do things like that.
No, you certainly won't, and that's going to be quite frustrating for Chris Pinchbeck. Of course, the penalty there, that 10-second stop and go, is what has put Malchiek a lap down in number 27 in 27th position here. So that will be one of the reasons of frustration, because he knows he's quicker. He was racing up ahead of Chris Pinchbeck than earlier on in the race, but you know, he's stuck, he's watching, and it's not ideal. But of course, there is racing going on up and down the order at this stage. And as I was saying earlier, the Bentley's looking great. There is your race leader right now. Atkins has got the gap down behind that to half a second now here to Alex Johnson. So that one really coming in. But 19 seconds lead for Luke Whitehead. That is very, very manageable at this moment in time. Just keeps a clean nose. Race is his.
Yeah, and as well as that, he's got to take into account that Alex Johnston and Carly Atkins will probably be battling sooner rather than later. That's going to cost them even more time. That's going to build on Luke Whitehead's lead. Yeah, and there it is. So Carly Atkins up into second place, Alex Johnston down to third, and it's happened quicker than I've been able to build up to it. But Atkins now back into second place where he was before his incident.
I want to see on replay where that move happened, because it was very quick the way he got up, and didn't I just say 20 minutes to go he'd be making that move happen, and he's got it stuck up into second position once again after what was a very unfortunate spin by his standards up through the Schumacher S. So Kalai Atkins then in the PC Boys Esports car up into second position overall. And this race now all about him holding on to that place. Here we catch it then on replay. Johnson just pushing in a little bit too deep. That's what we call pressure there. A hard charging Kalai Atkins then putting a forced error, so to speak, in from Johnston.
Yeah, and Johnston there, we've seen him. He's been pretty consistent. It's very odd for him to make an error like that, but just a slight miss of the braking zone, trying to brake slightly later than you normally would, and he's off into the gravel there, giving up that position much easier than he would have preferred. He's down to third place. Carly Atkins, though, will be taking that and trying to run with it now for second place. We know he's got the pace to be in second place at the very least, and now he'll want to try and pull away and secure that second place. Maybe even try and close in on first place, but it's a big ask at this point. Nearly 20 seconds between himself and our race leader, Luke Whitehead. In fact, it is 20 seconds now.
I think it's nigh on impossible to chase down a second a minute against Luke Whitehead. The way that he's been piloting that 22 McLaren, it seems nigh on impossible at this time. Look at his lap times, though. He's done a 54.6 that last time by. That's only half a second off of his fastest lap of the race. To have that level of consistency in this sort of event right now, that's the sort of level you have to go out there and race against. And the moment he took that race lead, about 10-15 minutes into the race, there was just one answer that was going to come along from that. You're never going to look back. Luke Whitehead was always going to run away.
Yeah, that's the only problem there for Carly Atkins. As soon as he made that mistake, he was on the back foot from that very moment. He had such a good start to this race as well. There's Gurley Conchabo then, who's in 9th place. Under pressure once again from Luca Raya as we see the number 48 car there. That's Tommy Lee Atkins there. He's a lap down, or at least a couple of laps down on our race leader, just having to get out of the way. And there you can see the Bentley there of Luca Raya just flashing his lights at the back marker, just letting him know we're coming through. Respect the blue flags. Conchabo then trying to defend as much as he can from a hard-charging Italian of Luca Raya.
Yeah, Raya's been there for a very long time, just staring at the back of that leading Bentley there in 9th position. definitely wants to get through, definitely wants to find place, but really, it's just a simple case of trying to get yourself into position. This is what tactical chess is at about 230 kilometers an hour is right now here, really, Kieran, because you know that the driver in front of you's got exactly the same tools as you have for your way of driving. You've just got to find a way that you create weaknesses in the structure of his driving. It's not happening at the moment, but he is running 56.7s at this moment in time, trying to pull that gap in and make those moves happen. Again on the brakes, he can't get there. I wonder if he's waiting for a little bit further, or simply put, Conshabo's just doing enough right now to make sure that Raya is kept at bay.
Yeah, and as you say, they're both driving the Bentley, but how have they set their Bentleys up? The setup of these cars is just as important as the driver behind them as well. So we'll have to wait and see which setup prevails overall as we see picture in picture then. That's one of the Ashtoir racing cars then trying to defend, but Luca Raya at the moment making his way through this first part down towards the Dunlop curve, and you see there Conchabo getting nice and close and personal with the grass on the left hand side of our picture, anyway, right hand side of the track. Raya there just trying to put Conchabo under a bit of pressure, but Conchabo soaking up that pressure well.
He certainly is, and this is testament to the way that Gurgly Conchabo does drive. He's a very consistent driver who, time and time again, prides himself on finishing races, and being there in P9, I'm sure will be a pretty solid result for the way all things considered. And this has been the key as well with Gurgly Conchabo. He's only been in trouble maybe 1 or 2 times in this race, and we haven't seen them on camera. So it shows that being in that 9th place, he's doing everything that he wants to and a little bit more, and he's just holding that result in the palm of his hand, knowing that there is not going to be much that anyone can do in this field to go out there and stop him. This is the closest battle that we have on circuit, and now up the hill they come along again as they search with 16 minutes to go to figure out that result. And Raya just now exploring alternative lines, going through a couple corners, and it is costing him a little bit of time, so it's going to take him maybe a couple more laps to bring himself back to equal again.
Yeah, I think a couple more corners at the rate Raya's going. But yeah, he really tried to attack the Vidal chicane at the first part, and it just put him slightly out of line for the second part of it. And that is where Conchabo was able to just extend that gap. So Raya now knows not to go for that aggressive first part. Try and prioritise the second part of that chicane, because that's really where you get the speed and the pace overall as you head towards the final corner. Making our way through turn 2, now onwards towards turn 3. There is Gurgly Conchabo in the minimum effort racing team. There's certainly maximum effort going on to keep a hold of that 9th place. He's had a really solid drive right now, and a top 10. He'll be absolutely over the moon about that one.
I'm pretty sure he will be as well, especially when you talk about Luca Raya as well being happy, being in 10th position right now, because of the fact that he had that massive moment going through Ravenel corner that pretty much put him back about 7-8 seconds, and the way he fought himself to get back, doing a wonderful job. But they do have to be careful actually about the way they battle in this group, because they've got Ziga behind at 2.3 seconds from Raya at this moment in time. That's not a guaranteed top 10 for either of those drivers, with Ziga there in 11th position trying to ratchet up the pace then in that Porsche.
Yeah, you've also got Ivalio Boychev as well in the number 64, that pink McLaren going through. He's only 1.4 behind Ziga. So there you can see there's the 2 cars, 4 position right behind these 2, battling away for 9th place. As you say, they've got to be careful in these last 14 minutes. If they're battling hard and if they keep battling each other all the way through, it's more than likely that Ziga and Boychev will join the battle for 9th place.
Yeah, and that 9th place battle looks like it may be a 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th place battle if they're not careful, but they have been quite careful over the course of this race. It has started to spread out a little bit, at least for the top 6 positions here, or the top 8. This is the first real battle that you see on screen for 9th place and on down at this stage. The minimum effort racing team still trying to hold off as much as they can. They know they can't catch Jan Ryler. He's 8.2 seconds adrift of Foch, but really Conchabo 5 seconds adrift of that, and looking backwards more rather than forwards, which will be a little bit of course concern for the 11 Bentley right now. But really you could say that as the light begins to fade here at the Nurburgring, they're going to have to deal with one more little issue as they get themselves home and dry, so to speak, over the start-finish line, and that is that setting sun, which will be impairing visibility.
Tell you what, as well, the wind has picked up over the circuit as well. It's currently that easterly wind at this moment in time, but 19 kph across the circuit. Now, if you have a look at that, is it a headwind really anywhere? Well, yeah, coming up towards, I think that would be Ravenel and Bilstein at the moment. So a little bit of a headwind coming up the hill, the other then going against the wind at the moment. So that's going to be a real challenge for these drivers. And it's not something that drivers have in the past in sim racing had to replicate before. How the wind changes how the car performs.
Exactly. So you can see right now, as they go through the Schumacher S, they are completely into a headwind coming into Ravenel corner, which will mean, that they can brake slightly later on the brakes into Ravenel in comparison, but maybe down in towards turn number 1, they need to be a little bit earlier on the brakes as a difference. They can see the setting sun in our picture-in-picture here with the efforts going on here at World Pro Racing as everyone looks to try and make sure they get themselves settled in. A little bit of side-by-side as they go onto the front stretch there just in front, but still that focus going to be on these two at the moment. And again, Raya just having a little bit of a search. It looks like they are both pulling away from Ziga here. That gap has extended 3.4, but that's the first real move we've seen from Conchabo trying to shake some toe.
Yeah, he realises he's under pressure. He realises something has to be done to try and stop Luca Raya from trying a move down the inside. I mean, we've seen at turn 1, we've seen drivers launch a move down to turn 1 in this very race. So Conchabo wants to cover his bases for now, even if it means he loses time down the straight. He does not want to be left vulnerable going into one of the heaviest braking points on the entire circuit. As we see Luke Whitehead there leading the race. I think he's just put a lap there on Chris Pinchbeck as we make our way through the final corner. So that's 16th place. I'm fair to say, I think that's more than half the field now that has been put under at least one lap in this race. Luke Whitehead has 11 minutes on the clock then to finish off this race. So around about 4 or 5 laps left to go here at the Nurburgring. Might have a couple more because my maths tends to be off.
Yeah, so that's going to be not long to go in this race. That's going to be the best way to understand how long there is remaining right now on the brakes, then in towards turn number 3 through this Mercedes-Benz arena, and then looking to attack later on in the lap down towards the Mullenbacher Schleife there. A little bit of correction over the curb, trying to get it all gathered back up nicely again. But there have been some great drives up through the field, and we haven't really talked about that driver in 6th position in terms of great drives. Started outside of the top 10 trying to get that big result in, and Corkery has just quietly picked up a place here, quietly picked up a place there, and it shows the leading Aston Martin at this stage up there P6. That's a wonderful result so far.
Yeah, it's a great result from the Irishman. He knows he'll have put in a good performance. He's got 10 minutes left on the clock to just make sure that he keeps his head about him. We've got double yellows up ahead for the, I think that's the number 48 car, is it? Yeah, it's the number 48 that spun around then on the middle of the track. That's Tommy Lee Atkins who found himself around there. So luckily for Luke Whitehead, he was able to avoid that or see it coming at the very least. But you saw that on the dashboard come up, that double yellow signifying that there's extreme caution up ahead. Be prepared to stop.
Yes, so that's why you've got to be careful. They'll get those alerts and they'll be trying to scout out where the issues are out on circuit. Now, Conchabo, that gap came down over the line to under 0.3 of a second, but it still wasn't enough to see those Bentleys change position. And once more, it's a waiting game. Also, if you look just a little bit further back, then you can see the pink of Boychev is also trying to get through. He's got that gap down to 0.6 of a second. Have a little look at Tommy Atkins here in the ASR car running into troubles up through this left and the right. Is it going to be exactly the same as what happened to Kalai? It very much is. So both Atkins is getting it wrong and Tommy gets it worse. He noses and rear ends it into the wall.
Yeah, knows it and woes it as well, unfortunately for him. And yeah, getting onto the curb, losing that back end, the rear tyres over-rotate. And of course, in that rear-wheel drive Porsche, that tyre comes back to the ground. It's just, you know, not the end, not great for the car. He spins it, as you say, hits the front and the back of the car. And Atkins there might have come back to the pit lane. There will be damage on that car. Whether he thinks it's worth coming into the pits within the last sort of 9 minutes of this race is up to him entirely. But he won't really want to be driving with a wounded car for the last few minutes.
No, and those last few minutes are really, really crucial to how things are going. There is Alex Johnston, who is in 3rd position. He's dropped back now to 5 seconds behind Kalai Atkins in this one. Pilkington is now 5 seconds back of him, but really it looks like Johnson is just trying to make sure he gets it home. He's got a couple bits of traffic there behind him who are all fighting out. I believe that is Rassar there in the BMW, there along with Hockett then in the Audi then, as they are 17th and 18th positions, trying to fight out for that place. And on cue, just a little bit wide goes Rassar in the BMW, and that brings Hockett right into range.
Yeah, absolutely it does. You don't want to give him a second invitation. Hurkacz will try and find a way past, but that's the battle for 17th place at this moment in time. And that's a relief for Alex Johnston to see in his rearview mirrors, because it means for him, these two backmarkers are going to be battling away, and I can actually extend the lead. Rainer Rassar, the Estonian, in his typically lovely pink EuroRC.com car. I think Alex Goldschmidt alluded to the highlighter pen livery there for Rainer Rassar, the Estonian, making his way now through the Advan Arch.
Yeah, it very much does look like he's got the highlighter pens out and said, I want that. And if you're going to say no to it, well, too bad. I'm having it that way and you can't stop me. So Rassar on the brakes, going into the next right-hand bend then of the Hyundai N-Curve. And there really isn't long left in this race now. We're down under 7 minutes here. And we need to talk about now the future of some of these drivers as they go on to race here for what have been some very, very solid drives. These are the sorts of races you take an hour and a half, you build up to it, but the momentum you can generate from a good result in an endurance race really goes miles.
Oh, absolutely. And if you start off well, you can build on that momentum going through. We've seen Karl Atkins, he made that mistake, 20 minutes into the race, but he didn't let that set the standard for his own race. Yes, he lost a lot of time. Yes, he fell down to 4th place, but he really hunkered down, switched his focus back on the race, recovered to 2nd place. I think that's a solid drive from the PC Boys esports driver. Considering what happened to him in this race, he has done terrifically well to recover to 2nd.
Yeah, that spin just before the pit stop window really did not help the number 41. Dropped back down, had to work hard to gain those places again. And my goodness, hasn't he done magnificently to keep the gap here at this stage to 20 seconds at the front of the field. He was there, he was close all the way, but eventually he has let the pressure go out of the valve, so to speak, in comparison to your race leader, Luke Whitehead, who has been doing a pretty stellar job of things at the moment. Just a little bit of traffic to get through once again. That is going to be one of the Lamborghinis. That is the 7 of Volodya, who will go now 2 laps down here in this race. And Volodya might be looking a little bit further behind as well. But really, this has been a race where that 22 was favourite pretty much all race long. Poor start, yes, got a little bit caught out, but the way he got back to the race lead, and once he got there, you know he was never going to let go of it. That's just the way he drives.
The only thing he's missing right now is that fastest lap, and if he hasn't got it already, he'll be gearing himself up to try and take that fastest lap away, to try and get the Grand Slam, which is pole position, race win, and the fastest lap to go along with it. I'm sure he'll have that in the back of his mind as well. Karl Atkins then, with that 54.3, is not quite the fastest lap of this race, but my goodness, he's put in a solid drive there. Currently 2nd place. Alex Johnston in 3rd place. He's fallen away from Karl Atkins, about 7.5 seconds back now, but I think he's just focusing now on trying to get to the end of this race. As we see the fans there, at least they're there virtually on the circuit. Hopefully we'll be able to be there for real very, very soon. Throughout this year. Martin Pilkington is in 4th place. Jimmy Holm up in 5th place. I mean, that's a great drive from the Finnish man, considering he's outside of his homing missile 777 Ferrari. We've already spoken about Corkery, how he's done a solid drive in the Aston Martin to grab 6th place. Samir Foch in 7th place. Jan Ryler in 8th place. Kunshabo in 9th. And Luca Raya rounding off the top 10. Looks like that battle for 9th place is still going on, and they have built a lead to Luca Ziga behind.
I'll tell you what, I wish I had as much energy as that fan did. He's been waving that yellow flag there for an hour and 20 minutes. He must have very, very tired hands at this moment in time, and his arms must be aching at this point. But Alex Johnston then in 3rd position, just quietly looking to try and finish this race in the 248 machine, just trying to drive around, get that finish. There is Rainer Rassar, still trying to defend that 17th place here from what is going to be Hurkacz there behind in 18th. So a lot of work to try and get along. These two will be looking at this, and they'll be in those final couple laps. They'll be in that focus mode of, well, we need to try and make those moves. But now the traffic puts itself into play, and not traffic is in there's slower cars, but there's quicker cars trying to lap. So that pretty much opens up that little battle just a little bit more in a way that they didn't necessarily want it to.
Yeah, Rassar there gets it all wrong going in towards the final chicane there, but he's not punished for it as we now make our way through on towards the start for the straight. He had to get out of the way of that black car anyway, and that's her car right behind him. So making our way now down towards the first turn once again. Just over 2.5 minutes left of this race, and I think that is the 4th place car of Pilkington there. So he's made his way through, and he's had a very quiet race as well, has our 4th place man. He's just been absolutely solid, pretty much 0 mistakes all the way through, and he's being rewarded here with that 4th place. I think he'll be slightly aggrieved that he hasn't held on to 3rd place, but when you're coming up against Carly Atkins, who's on a charge and on a recovery drive, I think 4th place is a very, very respectable result.
It very much is, and this is where you start seeing here how you get a good result. 4th is nothing to shake a stick at. A lot of people look at 4th place and say, oh, we didn't get a podium. It's not quite ideal. It's not quite what we wanted in terms of this result. There's still this one going on right now between Conchabo and Raya for 9th and 10th position. And again, on the brakes, it is a case of Conchabo doing enough. But Raya has taken a couple of laps to sit back at about 7, 8 tenths and has a double take going through the corner for Raya, which means that he dropped all those tenths he was trying so desperately to work with.
Definitely. And I have to say, since that pit window, we have seen really, really good driving standards. Yes, we've seen a couple of spins out there, but on the whole, when it comes to overtaking, there's just about enough respect out there for everybody involved to make sure that we get some clean door-to-door racing. And if there is contact, it's completely unintentional. It's been fantastic to watch these guys thrown out onto the Nurburgring for 1 hour and 25, and you know, the stewards in this second part of the race at least have been twiddling their thumbs waiting for something to happen, but you know, it hasn't at the moment.
It certainly hasn't. If you just heard there over the in-game communication, which may have just pilfered through your screen, we are now officially on the final lap of this race. Luke Whitehead driving very nicely, so 2 laps or a lap and a half right now for Gershly Conchabo to hold on this defence in comparison to that driver behind of Luca Raya at this moment in time. There is Luke Whitehead right now. He'll be coming through what is this middle section of the lap, coming towards that brilliant Dunlop curve, that carousel-inspired corner. As it goes through the right, he diamonds off the apex as he looks to put the power down as much as he can on the exit, and up for the Schumacher-esque, this left and the right, which has been such a sticking point for a couple of drivers in this one overall. Luke Whitehead was the fastest man in practice by all intents and purposes. He had 3 tenths of a second. When it came to qualifying, he managed to put 2.5 tenths of a second on the rest of the field as he showed everybody how it all goes into play. But it's all about attacking then up the hill here through that Advan arc as they go through the right. This is going to be one of those races that he savours, because he knows that after a poor start here today where he dropped back down the pack and he got himself back up through with a little bit of a smile, he then just took complete control of the field and he walked away from everybody else. Luke Whitehead takes the final corner and decimates everyone. He takes the victory here at the Nürburgring 226 Ks. Piece of cake.
Absolutely solid drive from Luke Whitehead there to take the win after 226 kilometres. Carly Atkins throwing some late drama in there as well as he makes his way through the final corner. A very respectable 2nd place from Carly Atkins there, crosses the line to take that middle step on the podium. And Alex Johnston coming round the final corner will grab the last spot of the podium places then. Solid drive from Johnston. A good battle with Carly Atkins. Made that mistake, but I'm sure he'll still be just as happy with players. Aaron Martin Pilkington gets 4th place.
Yeah.
Very solid drive.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on Jan Ryler here because he's been rapidly caught up by Kunshabo and co at this moment in time. So that could still be on, of course, with him and Raya at this moment. There you can see that is Jan Ryler, and that Audi is not safe here for the 8th place. And Kunshabo, well, how big of a move is he going to go for on this final lap? If he's not going to gear it up here, he's got to have a lunge at the Hyundai N curve. He tries to sort it all out, but look at how nimble that Audi is through that section. You've got a big lumbering, I would say, a barbaric machine there, you could say, of an Audi in comparison to, of a Bentley in comparison to that Audi. So Jan Ryler will just about hold on for that 8th, 9th and 10th as they come over the line. But that's just a testament to how great the racing's been throughout the field.
It really, really has. And Kunshabo grabbing himself 9th place there. Great drives as well from Holm and Corkery, grabbing 5th place and 6th place respectively. Solid drives from them. And throughout that top 6, 7, 8, we saw some great driving, solid drives. And normally with a race leader, if you don't see a lot of them in the race, that's normally a good sign. Luke Whitehead, as you said, didn't get the greatest start in the world, dropped to 2nd place from his pole position start, but he made up for it for the rest of the 225 kilometres where he did get everything right. Solid drive from him, solid on the pit stop as well, and takes a deserved win.
Certainly does. And one of the greatest testaments you can have as a driver at the front of the field is that you don't get shown very often, because that is a testament to how dominant you are. We've got no reason to see where you are at the front of the field. You're winning. That's the real key. Of course, there are a lot of things that will be coming up in the near future right now, including Mega Sprint Tuesdays, which would be something very much worth keeping in mind. As we do that, though, and we have a little look forward to that, we're going to bring ourselves into some conversation, because we have got post-race interviews. Alex Johnson joins me now. He finished 3rd position overall in this race. And Alex, really what you could say in terms of a race like that is that for you it was about consistency, trying to make sure you were staying with those top 2. You had a chance to get ahead after a spin earlier on, but really you can't necessarily complain about a result like that. 3rd place in what was a very competitive field.
I mean, yeah, we'll take 3rd place after that. I'll be honest with you, I didn't realise the race was going to be this early. Over in the UK, the races are normally at 7, and you realise about half an hour before the race was going to start, it was coming up, so we all jumped on. But no, we struggled with kind of race. I think we set up at use of the tyre a bit too much, so we struggled, mid-run on the tyres. But no, overall good race, a good battle with Whitehead and Kalai.
Well, still, you had those struggles, but you managed to get through them quite nicely. It seemed like, especially coming towards the end, those tyre issues were coming into play, especially when it came down to that Dunlop hairpin where we saw you run wide and Kalai take the place.
No, yeah, what happened is I went for the brake, and because I got sweaty feet, my foot just completely slipped off the brake and I just went straight on. But I know towards the end of it, you're really nursing the car home to get the tyres to the end.
Well, nursing it home, you very much did. 3rd place is definitely nothing to shake a stick at. In terms of now how you take what was 85 minutes of great racing forward, how do you take this and build on this result, this 3rd place, to make sure that the pace is there, the setups look to improve, and you find some overall pace to improve with?
Yeah, we'll take today, we'll watch back the race on YouTube and our replays, and we'll see where we can improve the car and improve our driving, and just eliminate race mistakes for the next race.
Well, before we let you go here, Alex, shout out sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank.
I'd like to thank my parents, Omega and PC Boys for helping us out today.
Well, no worries at all there. Alex Johnson then getting a 3rd place finish overall in this race. Kieran, who have you managed to find as you've walked down the paddock?
I've managed to find Carly Atkins here for 2nd place in that race. Carly, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Carly, let's talk about that race start to begin with, because you seem to get a fantastic start. What was the difference between your start and Luke Whitehead's?
I just made sure to keep as close to 70 as possible, and then as soon as it went go, I made sure to put on the full straight away, and I managed to get an amazing drive. I struggled at the bit. Whitehead caught up. I was trying to back him up, but he was just too fast. And then near the end of the 1st stint, I dipped a wheel on the dirt and binned it and dropped down to 4th, which was annoying. Then coming into the pits, I made a mistake expecting the conditions to be a lot colder, and went on the pressure's way too high, and that screwed me. But I managed to get from 4th to 2nd in the end and hold on.
Yeah, I mean, talk us through what happened to your head going through when you had that spin at the Schumacher S. Talk us through your reaction from that moment on. What was your reaction?
Yeah, if I'm being honest, I just wanted to punch myself, really. It was idiotic mistake by me, but we move and learn from that.
And as you said, it was recovering from 4th place to 2nd place. How would you yourself look back at this race? Is this something to look back on with pride, or would you rather forget about it?
I'd rather forget about this race because I really wanted to battle Whitehead, but he drove an amazing race, and well done to him. And well done to Alex Johnson as well.
Yeah, great stuff, Carlisle. Congratulations on your 2nd place through a pretty dramatic event for you. The floor is yours for any shout-outs, any sponsors you'd like to thank.
Yeah, I'd like to say a massive thanks to my parents, my dad and my mum. My dad for getting me my sim, and my mum for the support. I'd like to say another thank you to PC Boys Esports for the setups that we get. It's getting better and better as we go, and I'm ready to take these setups into SimGrid. I'd also like to say a thank to Fanatec CSL Elite for not failing me in the end.
Great stuff, Carlisle. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. Congratulations on your 2nd place. Go and enjoy yourself.
Thank you.
And Jake, there's only one person left to talk to. Who have you got?
Well, he only just went and won this race by about 20 seconds. It's Luke Whitehead here, who had, I would say, after what was a tumultuous start to the race, the Sunday drive straight after. Luke, let's go all the way back then to the beginning of that race. You got fastest time in practice, fastest time in qualifying. It just seems that you didn't have the fastest reaction times when it came to the green flag dropping.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I messed up royally. The problem is I'm too used to having other cars to gauge myself against, and the sort of field of view in the McLaren is absolutely atrocious. So usually what I do is I look to the left and see a car, you know, to sort of gauge myself. But this time there's a great big pillar on the left, and I couldn't see. And to be honest, I got it completely wrong. And yeah, I was very frustrated, but I was ultimately quite calm because I knew that I had the 1 lap pace. I didn't know about my race pace because I've never actually driven this car on full race fuel before. First time I drove it properly around this track was today. So I just kind of went with it because I thought, do you know what? I'm going to go something different because I know the Porsche is probably the strongest car here. I think the Audi is also very strong. So I just thought I'd go for something different. And it seemed to have paid dividends in the end.
It certainly has, and you know, you got the move back through, you took yourself into the race lead, and from there it was just a case of control. It looked like you were being pressured, especially in the opening half to the mid-late part of the first stint, but a spin behind from Kalai. Did that just open the door for you to breathe and understand that that race was yours with a 12-second gap?
Yeah, to be honest, it was all about, like, once I got into the lead, it's all about controlling the gap, and of course Kalai was very quick in at the start of the first stint. And obviously I was still getting used to the car. I didn't know how it reacted on older tyres. And in the second stint, I kind of showed my mettle, you know, with I was consistently in the 54s and only getting really pushed back and getting a bit of hassle from some of the back markers who were all battling each other. So yeah, I'm really, really happy. And obviously I'm the last lap as well on really warm tyres that are a low 54, which was what I was doing at the start of the race. So the pace was definitely there, and I was very, very happy. And of course, Kalai's mistake, you know, I feel a bit for him because it made the race a lot easier for me. But fair play to him for getting back to second.
Pace was there, car was there, everything was there for you. In terms of now how you move forward from this, taking a victory in any endurance race is one that gives you a lot of pride. But how does this now generate that momentum to push forward and challenge for more championships in the future?
Well, it's a massive help to me because I'll be honest, I was kind of second guessing myself the last few races because I've had 3 absolutely atrocious races, sort of getting involved in incidents at the 2 Monza races with World Pro Racing, and then the other day SimGrid race, I made a silly overtake and then got absolutely pinned into the wall. So I was kind of doubting myself a little bit, which is a bit strange, you know, considering I've won quite a lot and I'm usually up the front, so it's quite uncommon for me, but. You know, I'm glad to finally get a win under my belt once again after a few difficult races, and it just shows that I have still got it, and I'm not just losing myself, which is always comforting to know.
Well, the comfort is there in the form of first place. Before we let you go here, Luke, shout out sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank.
Well, as always, I'd like to say a massive thank you to H3 Racing and Ashton Cox as well. Those guys are phenomenal. Been doing a lot of racing with those guys recently, and I see what they're doing with the World Pro Racing French, the French Challenge. I think that's brilliant, and I couldn't thank the guys enough for, doing their bit for World Pro Racing and doing their bit for me as well. Giving me the opportunity to race in SimGrid and other championships that they have on the board. So, yeah, massive thank you to those guys. Massive thank you to my mum and dad, as always, for putting up with me through the highs and lows. I don't know how they do it. And finally, a massive thank you to my manager, Robert Watherston, for always just giving me pointers and giving me tips on how to keep a level head, through the difficulties. Honestly, it really, really helps. And thanks to everyone as well tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the race.
Well, there you go. Luke Whitehead with a very, very comfortable victory in the end. Took him a little while to settle into rhythm, but exactly what he wanted. But Kieran, a race where really you could say it was pretty much waved over just before the first stops. But what do we take away from this in terms of what was a very hard-fought race, I think is the right way to say?
Well, I think we can safely say that Carly Atkins, he knows how to come back. Even after a spin, we heard him say he was frustrated, but he came back, got the second place, and was showing us a little bit of a glimpse of what could have been a battle for the front there. But these things happen in endurance racing, and Luke Whitehead was there to pick up the pieces and finish 20 seconds ahead of anybody else. Also, some great racing in the midfield as well. We couldn't really pinpoint a battle to really focus on, especially until the last 20 minutes. So it just shows and gives a full credit to these drivers for how well they're able to battle each other. A couple of incidents here and there is to be expected in any race, but overall, fantastic endurance race, and a credit to everyone involved.
Absolutely, as we all get more going forward, some great action coming through, and of course we'll want to keep an eye out on Mega Sprint Tuesdays, which will be coming up. You can check on that on the website at worldproracing.com/events. As well as that, you can go over to the World Pro Racing Discord on top of that if you want to try and get yourself integrated into the community and work out what is going on. There is something there for everyone. It doesn't have to be Mega Sprint Tuesdays. There's something that goes along on almost every sim racing platform out there in the world with World Pro Racing. We've been live, of course, on YouTube, on Facebook Live, and on Twitch as well. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, do whatever it is that you need to do to make sure that you are seeing all of the action that World Pro Racing gives to you. And on top of that, we have been live, of course, with motorsport.tv, with TVM Sport, and with ESTV, the Esports Television Network. But this is where we bring things to a close from the wonderful team that's been working hard behind the scenes, from the stewarding team of Adrian Fagayo and George Muscat, from Justin and Nathan Mifsud, who have been out there on cameras for us here today, from one Mr. Kieran McGinley, from myself, Jake Sperry. It's been a pleasure bringing you all of the action that we have seen here today. It's Whitehead smiles then as he goes through. The doubt will start to be lifted as a big, big victory comes into view. But there were some drivers who felt like they could have challenged, could have got up there to the very top. But there is always a next time when it comes to sim racing. We'll see you very soon with World Pro Racing and more amazing sim racing action when sim racing becomes real.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.